Shall we start?
Good afternoon. Namaste. I welcome all of you all to this session on Labor Day. It's a virtual CPE meet. We'll discuss opportunities for CAs in labor law today. We have got three renowned speakers who have taken out time on Sunday and addressing you all. And I thank the participants that they are curious to, understand, learn things, and for that reason they are here. I would describe and introduce our first speaker, Advocate Ashwini Kumar Khatkar. He is a labor law practitioner, HR and industrial relationship consultant. He is a science graduate with chemistry as major and Bachelor of Law from Mumbai University. After passing out, he cleared his MPSC exam. Sir, very nice, very nice. I believe after Chartered Accountancy, UPSC and MPSC are the tough exams to get through.
Yeah.
He has joined as a government labor officer in the year 1987, and thereafter he has started with his career non-stop. Based on seniority and merit on regular intervals, he has been promoted as Assistant Commissioner of Labor, Deputy Commissioner of Labor, and finally he retired as an Additional Commissioner of Labor very recently. So I'm sure your session would not only add, but permanently fix feathers in our hat. Sir, all yours. Please go ahead. Ashwini Kumar sir.
Thank you, Salamji. Rajkumar Ji Adukia, Chairman CECL, Hansraj Chuk sir, Vice Chairman CECL, my fellow speaker and my friend Pratik Vaidya from Cover Management, and Santosh Sinha, who is also my friend for last more than 15 years. He is also with me for today's panel discussion. So today's topics is given to me is overview of labor laws and ILO. So as you are aware, today is a Labor Day, International Workers' Day. This is celebrated all over world, not in India itself. But coincidentally, it is a Maharashtra Day also. So 1960, 1st May of 1960, the state of Maharashtra is formed. And since then, on first day, we celebrate Maharashtra Day. So I give best wishes for Maharashtra Day as well as International Workers' Day. To begin with, I will give the brief history of today's festival that is called International Workers' Day, which is celebrated in all parts of the world. So how it started, how the labor movement gained momentum after the Second World War, what are the memberships of these ILOs, the creation of ILOs, their working, contribution of India to the ILO. And again, lastly, I will give you the overview of labor laws, how they are categorized, how they are being implemented, their machinery, etc. So to begin with, I will start with the International Workers' Day. This is a Workers' Day celebrated for last nearly more than 100 years. It started in 1889 by Marxist International Congress, which met in Paris. 1889 till today, this labor movement gained momentum, and it was started with a few countries. Actually, today it is celebrated in much more enthusiasm, in particularly social socialist countries, communist countries, Soviet Union bloc countries. But its origin is in United States. It's American Federation of Labor. They started the campaign in the year 1886. The 1st May of 1886, the American Federation of Labor organized a strike in the industrial city of Chicago. What was the cause for strike? You may wonder, today we are having a fixed time frame for working, then weekly off, then leave with wages, all other allowances you are getting, salaries getting as per minimum wages. Many times it may be, may not be, but now it is accepted principle that you have to pay minimum wages. But all these conditions, they have to struggle. Working class has to struggle. So their first demand for gender strike on 1st May of 1886 at Chicago was 8 hours working day. You may wonder that for 8 hours working day, they have to organize a strike in Chicago. Large number of workforce participated in the strike. And 1st May 1986, this strike culminated in Haymarket Affair. What's Haymarket Affair? This strike took a violent turn, and one of the participants in the organized strike, he threw a bomb on police personnel, killing 7 police personnel and 4 civilians. Again, this was the beginning of that movement for achieving the better service conditions against the exploitation of the working class. Subsequently, then 4th May, again, it was a agitation in Milwaukee City. In Milwaukee City, which is near to Chicago, it is very famous for, motorcycle manufactured by Americans, that Harley Davidson and GE Healthcare. So this Milwaukee City, they again organized the gender strike, and in the culmination, the mob became violent, and they started a violent demonstration, and ultimately, the policeman fired on workmen, and they lost their 7 colleagues, 7 workmen who are taking part in the process strike. For that matter, the union leaders were again put to the judicial processes, and 4 union leaders were hanged and sentenced to death. But subsequently, it was found that they were innocent, and there was a miscarriage of justice. In this firing, apart from workers, one boy and one passerby also got killed. So this movement started from 1st May in America. So in America, even though it started in America, rest of the world, they are celebrating on 1st May. In United States and America, the Labor Day is celebrated on 1st May of September. So why it is so? You may be wondering that at that time, the world was clearly divided into 2 groups of nations. One is capitalist group of nations, and other is socialist. So ultimately, this movement was by socialist parties. Even though in USA, there were socialist parties were there. And to do away with these memories of, first Labor Day, 1st May Labor Day unrest, the United States decided to celebrate the Workers' Day on 1st Monday of September. So rest of the countries, it is celebrated in 1st May, but USA and Canada, it is celebrated on Monday, September. In 1889, in Paris, the demonstration was again organized, and it started with other countries also. In the Chile and Peru, it was again erupted, and gradually in 2004, International Congress in Amsterdam had a trade union demonstration on 1st day for legal establishment of 8 hours day, for class demands are protected, and for universal peace. So this was the history of Labor Day, and it was celebrated now in most parts of the communist countries such as China, Vietnam, Cuba, Laos, North Korea, and former Soviet Union countries. Again, in 1955, the Catholic Church also. You see, it was a labor movement driven by socialist parties and communist parties. The church was not involved. But in 1955, the Catholic Church dedicated first May to Saint Joseph the Worker. The Saint Joseph the Worker was a patron saint of workers and craftsmen. So in his memory, the Catholic Church also declared that 1st May is a Labor Day, Workers' Day. So how? So I feel I have explained you the importance of Labor Day, and now all the countries in the world are celebrating Labor Day. Now I will proceed to my second second part of my session, history of ILO. ILO is International Labour Organization. In 2019, we celebrated the 100th anniversary of ILO. ILO was the necessity after the, say, First World War. League of Nations, they formed the League of Nations, and they decided by Treaty of Versailles. Treaty of Versailles is a treaty which ended the First World War. In the Treaty of Versailles, there was a clause that universal and lasting peace can be accomplished only if it is based on social justice. So what is social justice? How to achieve the social justice? Then they decided to have a common platform for laborers. So decided to form the international organization ILO. In the year 1919, Labor Commission, chaired by Samuel Gompers, who is an American, the first meeting was conducted, and it was attended by 9 countries: Belgium, Cuba, Czechoslovakia, France, Italy, Japan, Poland, United Kingdoms, and United States. So United States had taken the lead because the League of Nations headquarters were in United States, and they decided to form a ILO. But later on, the headquarters of the ILO shifted to Geneva. In 1919, it started its working from Geneva. But the preamble of the ILO, ultimately you have to seek the social justice for peace against background of exploitation of workers in the industrializing nations of that time. Then again, there should be understanding of the world's economic interdependence and need for cooperation to obtain working conditions in countries competing for markets. Just see what is the aim of the ILO. They want to establish some framework so that each country should not compete with the exploitation of workers. They should compete with fair standards for working class. That's why the preamble of the ILO Constitution states, whereas universal and lasting peace can be established only if it is based on social justice. Secondly, and whereas conditions of labor exist involving such injustice, hardship, and privation to large numbers of people as to produce unrest so that peace and harmony of the world are imperiled, and an improvement of those conditions is urgently required. So it is already, the conditions were worst, and it was urgently required to rectify those, social imbalances and social justice to be given to the working class. And whereas also the failure of any nation to adopt human conditions of labor is an obstacle the way of other nations which desire to improve the conditions in their own countries. Just see that how they have rightly pointed it out. Suppose one country which do not adopt the human conditions which is fair, then it will be very difficult for other countries also to follow same reformative, their approach towards working class. Therefore, there should be some common platform to establish the certain standards for working class, their working hours, their protection, their security. That's why the ILO is established in 1999. In the early years, around 9 recommendations and 9 conventions and 10 recommendations were adopted in Geneva itself within 2 years of formation. So what are the recommendations and what are the conventions? There are 2 types of protocols mentioned in the ILO constitution. One is convention and other is recommendation. Convention is that part of the resolution which binds the member countries. They have to rectify the convention. It is binding to all countries. If they don't want to rectify the convention, the member country has to give reasons for not complying with the conventions. Recommendations are in advisory guidelines given to member countries. So recommendations definitely are helpful to formulate the policies. The policies are formed of recommendations, but the statutes are enacted based on the conventions of the ILO. So these conventions includes hours of work, unemployment, maternity protection, night work for women, minimum wage, and night work for young persons. Just see the subjects of convention. It's very important because these are the basic requirement of any working class. Their working hours, their shifts, then their employment conditions. So all this should be taken care by the ILO. The committee is set up. Committee was set up. Experts committees were set up by ILO in 1926 to supervise the application of ILO standards. So to monitor the day-to-day working of ILO. Suppose the ILO establishes certain standard conditions, working conditions. Whether the member countries are complying with it. For that matter, the committee of experts was established in 1926 and still it's continuing. And each year, the International Labour Conference, the expert committee submits the implementation of ILO conventions and recommendations. So ultimately, there's watchdog, like expert committee. Just they are not going ahead with the conventions and recommendations, but they see that the member countries are complying with it. Then great depression, massive unemployment, then shadow of Second World War. In spite of that, the ILO continues to work, even though the United States was a principal nation for formation of ILO. 1934 only, the America became a member of the ILO, and just before the breaking of Second World War, means for the entire history of the ILO, Geneva was headquartered, but only for a brief period from 1939, 1940 onwards till 1945. For security reasons, the headquarters was shifted to Montreal, Canada, and from there they started their work. Then they start 1919 Constitution in Philadelphia meeting of International Labour Conference in the midst of Second World War. They decided that they should from 41 countries to declare some form of proclamation, that is Declaration of Philadelphia, as annexed to the ILO Constitution. And this declaration still exists, it constitutes a matter of aims of the ILO. So this declaration particularly highlights that labor is not a commodity, that all human beings, irrespective of race, creed, or sex, have the right to pursue both their material well-being and their spiritual development in conditions of freedom and dignity of economic security and equal opportunity. Just see the objective of the ILO. economic security and equal opportunity. So it's related to the condition of employment also. There should not be any discrimination for employment on base of sex, just like male and female, or the poor and wealthy. Everybody should get the equal opportunity and economic security. Economic security can be termed as a social security. We can say that recently we have enacted the labor code. One labor code is dedicated to social security. That is part of economic security. Means even after the retirement, the worker or working class, they should get some security network so that they can sustain till their death. So from 1948 to 1970, America's David Morse was the chairman, Director General of the America. Till 1970, after the Second World War, there was so much enthusiasm among the countries to become a member of the ILO, and its membership doubled during this during this period, and it took a universal character. All industrialized countries and majority developing countries also started participating in ILO, and there was a growth of five-fold budget in the ILO, and the number of officials also quadrupled. So that was a very great achievement after Second World War, because to combat the influence of Second World War and to meet the need of globalization, the workforce should be trained properly. So International Labour Studies Institute for Labour Studies was established in 1960, and Labour Training Center was also established in 1965. So 1960 and 1965, I've seen that ILO started their own training programs, and they started the studies in different parts of the world, how they can improve the service conditions of the working class. For their efforts, after 50 years, it was established in 1919. In 1969, the ILO was awarded Nobel Peace Prize. It was a great achievement that such organization, after completing 50 years, it was honored with the Nobel Peace Prize on its 50th anniversary. Then Britain's Wilfred Jenks was a Director General from 1970 to 73, and he also contributed to a large extent to extend the labor standards to working class. Then 1957, the Francis Blanchard of France expanded the ILO's technical cooperation with developing countries. So of course, developing countries needed some expertise for the industrialization, and for that matter, the ILO took initiative to train the workforce. So this is the history of this ILO. Today we can see that from May 2012, Gay Ryder of UK was elected as 10th Director General of ILO. He was again re-elected in 2016. So today, after completion of 100 years, the ILO still plays very important roles by framing the different labor statute all over the world. Because original statute is you can see that by different ways. One is for labor movement, other is from recommendations or conventions of the ILO, then from the constitution itself, then some social movement, just like in Maharashtra we have movement of Mathadi workers, head loaders, that culminated in the enactment of Mathadi Acts, then Security Guard Board Acts. These are all the statutes are the outcome of either labor movement or recommendations and ratification by the member countries of recommendations of ILO, then provision for constitutional, validity, and to provide the protection to the working class. So these are the sources of, labor statute, and ILO has played very pivotal role in formation of the constitution of any statute. Even in India also, I will go through the contribution of India to the ILO. You see that ILO established in 1919. In 1919 itself, at the time of foundation, even though India was a British colony, it became member of the ILO. It started with some 46 members. Then after the Second World War, as I told you earlier, the membership jumped from, existing 48 members to more than 100 members. And now today, it has got, 186 members. 186 members countries, means almost more than 90% of the countries in the world are members of the ILO. So, unique feature of the ILO is tripartite character. What is the tripartite character? Means the membership of ILO sees that there should be a participation from three parties. One is from government side, other is from worker side, and third is from employer side. So there's equal participation on this forum. That is tripartite. There are three organs of ILO. One is International Labour Conference. International Labour Conference is a general assembly of the ILO, just like any body corporate AGM, annual general meeting, just like corporate society, there is the AGM. International Labour Conference is just like one. It is a general assembly of the ILO members. Means all member countries attends every year in the month of June the International Labour Conferences. Then governing body. Again, this is a part of ILO. Executive Council of the ILO meets. This is Executive Council of the ILO, governing body. That meets 3 times, in March, then June, and November. So, this Executive Council, Executive Governing Body, is the Executive Council of the ILO, which supervises day-to-day working. They meet thrice in a year, March, June, and November. Then International Labour Office. It's, as I told you earlier, it is established in the year 1919. And since inception, it was located in Geneva. There's a permanent secretariat. There's a permanent secretariat. So except for a brief period of Second World War, that was shifted to Montreal, Canada. Now still after that, World War is ended, then it started its operation from Geneva. The work of conference and governing bodies supplemented by regional conferences, regional advisory committees, industrial analogous committee, committee of experts, panels of consultants, special conference and meeting, etc. So see that even though it is headquarters located in Geneva, they have regional offices. In India also we have office in Delhi, Habitat Center. The ILO got their own office in Delhi, and they have their own dedicated staff for region, entire regions, Asia you call it. From there they organize the conference in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, everywhere they go and organize the conferences with the help of trade unions, because they want to make it aware all the unions the rights of the workers, so that they can go to the field and ensure that they should get fair wages, should get fair working conditions, they should get weekly off, they should rest interval. All this, it is the aim of the ILO for betterment of service condition of the workers, and to meet the social justice. In that direction, they have this, machinery for regional level also. At the regional level, conferences are organized by the ILO, and it is being funded by ILO also. As I told you earlier, that it was their budget is also increased fivefold after the World War II. So definitely it is a cash rich now. Then, but they spend the money for the betterment of the working class. So what is International Labour Conference? So International Conference, the tripartite body, and every year it was held at Geneva. This conference had 4 Indian presidents. Means every year they elect the president for International Labour Conference. In India, from India, there were 4 presidents of Indian Labour Conferences. First was Atul Chatterjee, 1927. Then Sri Jagjivan Ram, as you are aware, he was a minister in the central government, Minister of Labour in 1950. Then Dr. Nagendra Singh. You may be aware of the name of the Nagendra Singh. He was a justice. He was a justice in International Labour Court, president of International Labour Court. And lastly, Sri Ravindra Verma in 1979. Mr. Ravindra Verma was a Labour Minister during Janata government, Labour and Parliamentary Affairs. Same Ravindra Verma was the chairman of the second National Labour Commission. He was a Gandhian, strictly disciplinarian, and he extensively toured the entire our Indian states. He met all the academicians, employer organizations, trade unions, individuals, and he submitted the report, which is famous as a second report on second National Labour Commission. So this Ravindra Verma was also president of Indian Labour Conferences. Apart from that, there were 8 Indian vice presidents of the Indian Labour Conferences. 2 from government side, 3 from employers, and 3 from employees' sides. There is a governing body. What is the governing body? That is the executive wing of the ILO. It's a tripartite character, and particularly this governing body is headed by the chairman, which is elected every year. For this also, India's contribution is very impressive. Atul Chatterjee, Shamlal Darjilal, then Mehrani, B.G. Deshmukh, they were chairman of the governing body also. And there are 6 committees of governing bodies: Program, Planning, Administrative Committee, Freedom of Association, Legal Issues, International Labour Standards, Employment and Social Policy, Technical Cooperation, and Sectoral and Technical Meetings and related issues. So these are the bodies, these are the committees which look after the subjects which are given to them. Then international labour standards. Just see that international labour standards, how they achieved. It is through conventions and recommendations. As I told you earlier, I will repeat that convention has a binding nature. Means recommendations can be accepted or may not be accepted, but conventions are in binding nature. Every member country has to rectify it. If it is not rectified, then the member country has to give the reasons. And all these recommendations and conventions put before the Indian Labour Conference. The separate report every year before Indian Labour Conference. That these many conventions have been adopted by ILO. These many countries rectified it. These many countries have not rectified it. Then again, conventions, how they are being implemented through the policies, which is beneficial to the working class. So just like Indian Constitution, we got fundamental rights and directive principles. Same way, it is a conventions and recommendations. Just like fundamental rights can be enforced and justiciable, but directive principles are not justiciable. But they give the directions, they give the guidelines for administrative machinery or even legislature to formulate the laws. It is up to the government whether to accept it or not. As per directive principles, you have to enact the legislation. But there's a fundamental right. Right to form an association is a fundamental right. So definitely, you cannot take that right from working class. If there's any infringement of the right, that anybody can approach to the High Court or Supreme Court for enforcement of fundamental rights. Just like these conventions, if it is not rectified, definitely the member countries has to give the reasons for it. The India, being a founder member, ratified around 47 conventions for rectification, and this is even though some conventions are not ratified by India, that they have given some justification for not rectification. Some of the important conventions are core conventions of ILO. The 8 core conventions are Forced Labor Convention, Abolition of Forced Labor, Equal Remuneration Convention, Discrimination Employment Occupation Convention, Minimum Wage Convention, Worst Form of Child Labor Convention. These are the 6 conventions which are very important, ratified by state government of India. Only Freedom of Association and Protection of Right to Organize Convention 87, and Right to Organize and Collective Bargaining Convention 1998. So these conventions are not ratified by India. But still, I feel these 2 conventions which are not ratified by India, it has a force in fundamental rights. Right to form an association, to organize right to organize, and to organize, that right is given under Indian Constitution. So if the conventions are in conformity with the Indian Constitution, if it is not ratified, government can say that we have already incorporated these provisions in our Constitution. So there is no need for rectification of the convention. So being a member country since beginning, the India has ratified 47 ILO conventions and 1 protocol. So the India has very impressive record in ILO. They have ratified the conventions and recommendations also they have taken care of it. So this is a formation of the ILO, their history, evaluation, how they conduct their day-to-day functioning, how they monitor their passing of convention and recommendations. So definitely this is a very important body. And in India also, we see that ILO, we work together with the ILO at central government level and state government level. I can recollect that for the implementation of labor laws, for state government labor machinery, we organized training program for government labor officers with inspectors under various labor laws. When they are recruited from Public Service Commission, the ILO has given grant. Even their officers used to come to our office, and for 1 week or 2 weeks, they used to organize a training program for labor enforcement officers, government labor officers. So such is the, in day-to-day function also, they are keen to participate with the state and central government machineries, labor department machineries, ILO. So this is an overview I've given you regarding ILO. I feel, Dr. Salim ji, it's my already more than half an hour.
Ashwini sir,
yeah.
Thank you for your address. I have been listening. We spoke once, Khatkar sir. The address which you have given now is so important because the labor laws, any employer can understand the significance of labor law if that person put himself or herself in the shoes of the labor. See, the labor law, the fabric or the foundation is the freedom, equity, security, and dignity. So we need a lot of your assistant, Khatkar sir, in seeing that, I was seeing this 2022 110th session of ILO is happening from 27th May to 11th June. Pratik ji, for you and Santosh Sinha, we are with very superficial. We are not. ICAI want to attend ILO conferences. ICAI want to be, the partner in the whole process of the ministry. Like if I was just seeing this ILO, what they are doing, and in the Treaty of Versailles, from Article 387 to Article 426, this treaty, which is signed on 28th June 1919, after the First World War got over, and the labor laws also, like this Ministry of Labor, still we have those, though the number is 1240, but there are laws which are missing in between. So there are about 30 plus total legislations, and we have 4 codes like wages, safety, health and working conditions, social security, industrial relations, and over and above this, the human resources, Ashwini sir, labor is, in other words, the HR. I feel HR is more important than mortal assets, the finance, the capital, land, plant and machinery, because like this webinar is done by the technical persons, yourself, Pratik, Santosh, not by the investment in the technology. Therefore, every organization has to give number 1 importance to HR. Labor is, the terminology which is used in the labor laws. But human resources is a wider terminology which include every person working in the organization. The owner itself is also a part of HR. All the organizations which has grown, when I did my articleship, Ashwini sir, I have the Excel Industries Limited, the Sroffs were owner. They used to eat in the same canteen where the workers used to eat. And take the food in the same manner, going at the counter. I have seen this in Bajaj, when industrial visit happens. So that is the culture which owners have passed to their children. So my request to you, Khatkar sir, Pratik ji, Santosh Sinha, this topic of HR and labor law, to the, see, now there are 379 members who are listening us. In the morning, 1st May is a RERA day also. 1st May is Maharashtra day also. 1st May is a Gujarat day also. We had a webinar 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on RERA day. There were 520 members. Now on the Sunday afternoon, instead of seeing movie with the family members or going out, there are 400 members who are listening us. So maybe after this webinar, I want input of other experts. Ashwini Saab, since you were in the department, those officials who have a technical interest and who have a time, we want to create a strong team, where we have a state-wise, because this is the state law, 28 states we have, and we create this ILO conference also, which will happen from 27th May to 11th June. which is a hybrid conference. So we want to give our suggestions to ILO, to all the treaties which they have made. Patikji, I need yours and Santoshji's input in that. And this, it is our duty, sometimes we use the word opportunity. I feel it is not a professional opportunity. We should start using the professional duty. There is a book called Science of Getting Rich, written by Dr. Wallace Wattles. They say if I know labor laws, then I should create a YouTube channel, I should create a blog, I should tell the whole world that I know HR and labor law, so I am available to assist your organization on HR and labor law. It is not marketing of my services. It is not advertisement of my services. If I don't do this, I am doing a crime, because I am not reaching out those who need my services. So Salimji, I will stop here because I want each of these 400 members to write books. We become expert on labor law. There are, I saw the list on each law we can write a book, because when, I am very optimistic. But when these four codes gives an idea of 4 major subjects. So the list of enactments, all these enactments, we can divide into 4 buckets. So one bucket is wages, so which include Payment of Wages Act, Payment of Bonus Act, Minimum Wages Act. The second bucket is health, safety and working conditions. So what should be environment? The third bucket is on industrial relations. So the Employment Standing Order, Trade Union Act. So it is a fundamental right of every employee to form a trade union to negotiate about the payment. And the fourth is, of course, the social security. After the retirement, the medical, the superannuity, the gratuity. So what my request to all the 400 participants is, and for learning also, there is a payment. ICAI pays 500 rupees per page. So if I write 200 pages, I will get 1 lakh rupees. And I will learn also the subject, because when I will write, I have to read before writing. I have to talk to Patik Vedya, I have to talk to Santosh Sinha, I have to talk to Ashwini Khatkar, कि I am writing this subject. How can I improve? How can I write better? And there are, the various literatures available. Like, I saw there is one book, Labor Laws, Taxman. There is a Bharat, the commercial publications. There are journals on labor law. It's every expert is a beginner on day 1. They become expert slowly. I still remember myself and Patik Vedyaji, we had traveled to Lucknow to address on Uttar Pradesh labor laws. I think those may be 12 years back or something. And that time you learn many things. And there were chicken, they used to say, please take chicken, please take chicken. I said, I am a Hindu, I do not eat. So then I came to know there is a chicken kurta. It is not that chicken which is famous in Lucknow. So my suggestion is that when we learn a subject, we travel like son-in-law of that city. The 5-star hotel is booked. One is given a business class travel facility. So become a thought leader, become a speaker, become a writer, and no prior knowledge is required. You may not have written a single line. The committee has unlimited time. The chairman of the committee, Dr. Salim Khan, the officers, Krishnakant, Reena Taneja, everybody has unlimited time. Mr. Ayaz, who is supporting us in tech support, Ayaz, or there is another, now I don't see the name Ayaz. And each of them, like Khatkar, has unlimited time. On Sunday afternoon, he is available to us. He has such a rich experience. Sir, you were with the Labour Ministry also, Ashwini sir? Or you were in Maharashtra government only? You unmute,
sir. Sir, unmute yourself. Ashwini sir, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Yes, Adikuya ji, I was associated with central government for one scheme, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. That scheme was run by state government, central government, but it was formally handed over to state government for implementation. The state coordinator was there.
Yeah.
And that time, were this one, the DG welfare was Mr. Anil. He was very enthusiastic about the implementation and got national award for that implementation for Maharashtra. So Anil Swarup was the right DG General that time, and central government. I used to go to Delhi many times for that implementation for this particular health insurance scheme. So even though I was state government, there was an opportunity for me to go to the central government, various seminars and regional conferences for presentation on our implementation of these labor laws.
Thank you. Why I ask this question and what I'm trying to tell to the participants is, if we write, even the seminar is 27th May ILO, if we write, that I want to address on a particular topic, they will invite. I also saw that they do the announcement in advance. So 111th session of which will happen next year in ILO, that is also they have been announced. So every member should come forward if they have a passion to become. And I do not find CA's name in the labor law to become to practicing in the labor law. In Maharashtra, I live in Mumbai. We have an association called EPILPA.
Yeah, EPILPA, yeah.
Where Pratik, myself, we are a member. But to find the experts, even for this webinar or other, when I want to do a state webinar, I do not find many experts available. Yesterday, we had one webinar in Gurugram. There are two faculty. I tried to phone both of them. I wrote an email. So purpose is, but there is no response. The purpose, what I am trying to say, the members who are listening me, go in an area where there is a monopoly available. There are three kinds of market which are available. The perfect market, where there are many buyers and many sellers. In perfect market, in economics, it is said the margin is very less because there are many buyers and many sellers. So buyers have an option to buy from anyone. Then second is a monopolistic market, where there are few sellers and many buyers. And third is a monopoly. When we had before airlines, Air India was monopoly. Then we have Jet and other airlines. And we have seen what is an advantage of competition. Earlier, we had only Department of Telecommunications. There was a premium for a telephone line connection. So go in an area of practice and nothing is difficult. Don't get afraid with the word law and word with labor. Santosh Sinha ji, Pratik Vedya and Ashwini Khatkar and the whole team, is there to support you. But please come forward and tell us your passion. There are 500 business laws areas, and we will be shortly bringing out the certificate courses on each of them. So you can look into that. Apart from that, there are 50 major areas for practice. So with this, Salim Khanji, I'll stop here so we can have more discussion on the labor laws rather than what I'm saying.
No. In fact, I completely agree with you, and so much passion, Adukeji has, and I don't know, he cherished the memory of, going for chicken and chicken handicrafts and all. So it was really good. But the objective is that since, I started this karma since 18 years, and it was always my endeavor, the knowledge sharing endeavor is always there. So whatever you learn, you want to give it back to the society. I think that is where every CA, and it's not that, in fact, we also held a lot of other sessions also. So for example, I'm into HR, I'm into compliance. I also give sessions in finance. I also give sessions on mentoring National Commission women on how to bring up their business. So opportunities are always there. Not that, we are free and all, but I think it is that internal passion which is there to share knowledge. In fact, when you talk about labor laws, and it's really good, we should, we have just small attempt for knowledge sharing. We have, just launched a beta version of an app called WeCheck. That is WECHECKED. It's an Android app. You just Google in the Play Store WeCheck app, and actually it's a learning platform. Again, all labor laws are there. There is an advisory board also is there, and it's all knowledge sharing. It's not that someone has to pay for it and all, but it's just there. The point and objective is that there are so many mediums of everyone, every CA which is there, to really do on your own. And hats off to spirit of Adukeji. He's there everywhere, omnipresent. I was talking in the morning. He's saying, I'm just out of one conference in the morning. Now he's there in this conference. So hats off to you. So with that, I would request Santosh Senaji to continue on, I think wage code, more important. And then I will take the other three synopsis of codes. The point is, this is a synopsis which we're trying to do today. It's more of like, icing on the cake. You guys need to be going deep down study, and y'all are masters in study. CA is not a joke to study and really come out and become a CA. So labor law is nothing great about it, So don't get afraid, as Adukeji is saying. So all the best to all of you.
Pratikji, there is one query you can answer in the beginning. Whether a loss-making firm should make provision for bonus, maybe a company, maybe a partnership firm.
So, in the provisions of current bonus act, and of course, Khatkar ji can push it more, but I'll just address it to me. In current payment bonus act, there is a special provision, okay, under section 16, there is a special provision where if there is a loss-making company, be it proprietor, partnership, or whichever, up to the period of 5 years, following the year where you have done the business or you sold one particular item, up to 5 years, if you're a loss-making company, you do not have to do provisions and make the bonus, pay the bonus. Following after 5 years, 6 and 7 years, depending upon set on and set off what you do as part of your balance sheet item, mostly CAs do that. You need to then provide for the bonus. Bare minimum bonus to be paid is 8.50%. So that is what I would just try to answer this query right now. I mean, am I right? In fact, Santosh Senaji and yeah.
If I can suppose 5 years I have made the loss, so there is no carry forward. In 6th year again I have made a loss. So I was reading section 10. Santoshji, you can help us.
Yeah, yes.
You can help us. 6th year.
You need to make provision on the 6th year.
Adukeji, whatever Prateek is saying, this is absolutely correct. Prateek is saying that yes, we have to provision, and every year that audit report should be available, and we need to intimate while submitting the bonus return also if the company is going in loss. The reason behind that, Khatkar sahab, you correct me that tomorrow whenever there will be any inspection, so there will not be any gap, and the company will be in position to say yes, we were in loss and we have intimated to you. So there will not be any penalty. At least the company can avoid from the penalty. But Khatkar sahab, I would just like to understand, will there be any process or provision when company will be making company? Because company is not going to, they are not going to shut down. They are going to continue by keeping in posted to mentioning in their audit report. I'm sure whenever company will be in profit making, then they will reimburse that amount, certain portion of that by whatever they can reimburse.
In fact, when the company becomes, when company makes profit, only of the first 5 years also they make profit, they need to pay bonus for that particular year. That is your bare minimum, 8.33% of the basic wages or the wages defined under bonus act, they need to pay. Exactly. That is very clear on that. I mean, Dr. Puji, sorry, I just told you a question.
Yes, it's already pointed out by Mr. Prateek and Santosh. Infancy period, that's called infancy period. For 5 years, if you are making losses, you need not pay the bonus. From 6th year onwards, if you are making either losses or profit, you have to pay the bonus. But there is one provision under Payment of Bonus Act. Just like see that there is a provision for exemption from payment of bonus. And second is extension. So appropriate government can decide if there is a genuine difficulty for payment of bonus or during that period. Suppose at Diwali time, you are short of fund, but there is a little profit from which you can pay the bonus later on after 3-4 months or 5 months. You can ask for extension of time limit for payment of bonus, which is under Section 10, which is predefined. Within 8 months, you have to pay the bonus. But still, there is a provision for extension that is a power vested with the Commissioner of Labour Office. So Commissioner of Labour can give the extension. So definitely the inspector cannot take the action when the application is pending for extension till it is decided. And meanwhile, it can happen that management can pay the bonus and submit to the Commissioner of Labour that we ask for extension, you are not given me, but still I have paid the bonus now. So please decide upon my application or I will withdraw the application, but there should not be any penalty. Second is the exemption. It is total loss making for several years of time. So that vested with the powers vested with the government, not Commissioner of Labour. Exactly. So Labour Department has to apply for exemption. So there is a provision for having some relief to the loss making company. After the 5 years, 6th year onwards, if they are making losses, then they cannot sit with their balance sheet that they are showing losses and I can't pay the bonus. Suppose inspector visits, I will go to the court and pay the fine. It's not a case because ultimately liability is liability. You cannot escape it. But there should be some grievance redressal machinery, and it is there in the Act itself. Okay.
Thank you very much, Khatkar sir, for clarification.
What I want to impress upon the viewers that this is a small query, whether bonus should be paid when there is a loss, maybe 6th year, 7th year.
Yep.
I want to impress upon them how important it becomes to have an expertise. Such a small law, there are 40 sections and 4 schedules in the Payment of Bonus Act 1965. It may be, 1/20th of the Income Tax Act or 1/20th of the GST laws. But we are engrossed in income tax and GST. Yes. There is a Pareto's law. 20% effort gives 80% result. And 80% of our effort, 80% of our client gives only 20% income. My request is please leave this 80% of the bucket. You will have 80% more time and the loss of revenue will not happen. You can give that time for labor laws. or any other non-traditional passionate areas of your practice? Because I heard all three answers from three experts, but the message which I want to give to each viewer is that please go to non-traditional areas. There is a lot of opportunities lying there.
Very true.
Yes, Santosh Saab, you can continue your session.
Thank you very much, Adukia ji. Thank you, Pratik Vaidya ji. And thank you,
Santosh Saab, I would just like to introduce you. Just give me a minute, please, to introduce you.
Sure.
So here we have got senior labor compliance professional with 20 plus years of experience with companies like Reliance Capital, Tenon Group, Integra, etc. He has managed organization establishments and labor compliance for around more than 5,000 to 1 lakh plus employees. He's going to give a lot of enlightenment to us and how his association with K. Rahecha Group has enhanced his knowledge and his expertise, which is going to come down here in this session. Santosh Sinha, please carry on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. I'm just sharing my screen. Thank you very much, Adukia ji, to this opportunity to share, the platform. I'm just sharing my PPT.
So in between, I would also suggest, the questions keep on coming. And, rather than keeping it towards the last, I would suggest as and when you see the questions in the chat box, we should attend it. It's just a suggestion and an opinion from my end, sir.
Yeah. Just. Is my screen visible? Adukia ji, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible. It is visible, sir. It is visible.
Great. So, hi everyone. Good evening. Myself is Santosh Sinha. Thank you very much to Adukia ji to give me an opportunity to share whatever knowledge I have on the wage code. So this is my screen which I'm sharing. Like India has approximately 40 central and 100 state specific labor law. If we'll see, the Ministry of Labor and Employment has been targeting the codifications of labor code into transform old and obsolete labor laws, expand the ambit of the law to cover a broader working population, remove multiple definitions like often overlapping and authorities, ensure case of compliance and ability to business in India seamlessly, rationalization penalties and accordingly increase implementations. If we'll see, India's federal labor law has labor laws are proposed to be combined under 4 codes, which are wage, industrial relations, social security, and occupational safety, health, and working conditions. The Code on Wage 2019 is the first series of the labor code. The Code on Wage has received presidential assent on August 8, 2019, and now awaits its effective dates. Like we are getting date on date, but still we are waiting for the final date. Different provisions of the code may have different effective dates. The draft rule under Code of Wage 2019 have been released for public review. Now there is some brief about wage code, which are on Wage Act 2019. The Ministry of Labor and Employment introduced the Code on Wages Bill 2019 in Lok Sabha to amend and consolidate laws relating to wage and bonus and matters concerned therewith. The Code on Wage 29 seeks to regulate wage and bonus payment in all employments where any industry, trade, business, or manufacture is carried out. The central government will make wage-related decisions for employment such as railways, mines, and oil fields. State governments will make decisions for all other employments. Wage includes salary, allowances, or any other component expressed in monetary terms. This does not include bonus payable to employees or any traveling allowances, among others. According to code, if you'll see, the central government will fix a floor wage, taking into account living standards of workers, different floor wage for different geographical areas. The minimum wages decided by the central or state government must be higher than the floor wage. In case the existing minimum wages fixed by the central or state government are higher than the floor wage, they cannot reduce the minimum wages. If you'll see, the code prohibits employers from paying wages less than the minimum wages, because current practice, if you'll see, Advocate, you will be agree that so many things are happening by adjusting the components on all those things. But after releasing this wage code, it will prohibit to employers from paying wages less than the minimum wages. The minimum wages will be revised and reviewed by the central or state governments at an interval of not more. While fixing minimum wages, the central or state government may take into account factors such as skill of workers and difficulty of work. The central or state government may fix the number of hours that constitute a normal working day. In case employees work in excess of normal working day, they will be entitled to get the overtime wages, which must be at least twice the normal rate of wages. Wages will be paid in coins, currency notes, by check, by crediting to bank account, or through electronic mode. The wages period will be fixed by the employer as either daily, weekly, fortnightly, or monthly. If you'll see under the code, an employee's wages may be deducted on certain grounds, including fines, absence from duty, accommodation given by the employer, recovery of advance given to the employee, among others. Deductions not to exceed 50% of the employer's total wages. All employees whose wages do not exceed specific monthly amount notified by the central or state government will be entitled on an annual bonus. The bonus will be at least 8.33% of his wages or rupees 100, whichever is higher. In addition, the employer will distribute part of the gross profit among the employees. An employee can receive a maximum bonus of 20% of his annual wages. The code prohibits gender discriminations in matters related wages and recruitment of employees for the same work or work of similar nature. The code specifies penalties for offense committed by an employer, such as paying less than the due wages or for contravening provisions of the code. Penalties vary depending on the nature of offense, with the maximum penalty being imprisonment for 3 months, along with the fine up to 1 lakh rupees. At present, many of states have multiple minimum wages. Through the code on wages, the methodology to fix minimum wages has been simplified and rationalized by doing away with type of employment as one of criteria for fixation of minimum wages. Many changes have been introduced in the inspections regimes, including a web-based, randomized, computerized inspection schemes, compositions of fines, etc., will be conducive for enforcement of labor law with transparency and accountability. Act would ensure right to sustenance for every worker and intends for increase the legislative protections of minimum wages from existing about 40% to 100% workforce. This will be a milestone and give a respectable life of 50 crores unorganized sectors workers who will get minimum wage, thereby increasing the purchasing power of the worker, thereby filling up to growth the economy as well as quality of life. Multiplicity of minimum wages rates to be fixed on the basis of skill, aroundness and hazardness of the work, geographical regions and other norms as may be prescribed by government is confusing. There should be a single statutory minimum wage applicable to all sectors of workers, and regional differences can be taken care by adjusting the cost of living allowances. This will make it simple. Bill defines worker and employee differently. A common and comprehensive definitions of employee or worker is required to avoid discrimination between employees and workers for the purpose of minimum wage. Now these codes are in pipeline, like Code on Industrial Relation 2020, substance of 3 acts into 1, which is called the Trade Union Act 1926, the Industrial Employment Standing Order Act 1946, and the Industrial Dispute Act 1947. The next one is Social Security Code 2020, substance 8 acts into 1, the Employment State Insurance Act 1948, the Employment Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1947, the Employment Exchange Act 1959, the Maternity Benefit Act 1961, the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972, the Senior Workers Welfare Funds 1981, the Building and Other Construction Workers Act 1996, the Unorganized Workers Social Security Act 2008. Occupational safety, health and working conditions, substance of 13 acts into 1, which are the Factories Act 1948, the Central Labor Act 1970, the POSH Act 2013, the Interstate Migrants Workers Regulations of Employment and Conditions of Service Act 1979, the Working Journalist and Other Newspaper Employees Conditions of Service and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1955, the BD and Cigar Workers Conditions of Employment Act 1966, the Cine Workers and Cinema Theatres Workers Act 1981, the Plantation Labor Act 1951, the Motor Transport Workers Act 1961, the Sales Promotion Employees Conditions of Service Act 1976, the Building and Other Construction Workers Act 1996, the Mines Act 1952, and the Dock Workers Safety, Healthy and Welfare Act 1986. Now, 4 Wages Act substance of code, which are Equal Remuneration Act 1976, then Minimum Wages Act 1948, Payment of Wages Bonus Act 1965, and Minimum Wages Act 1936. So any action taken under the above enactments, including any notification, nominations, appointment, order or directions made, or any amount wages paid shall be deemed to have been done under the Code on Wages, unless it is contrary to the provisions of the code and until such times that they are replaced by the provisions of the code or a notification to that effect issued by the central government. Applicability, it applies to employees in both the organized and unorganized sector. The provisions relating to payment of wages under the Code on Wage 2019 will extend to all employees irrespective of their wage ceiling and type of employment, unlike the Payment of Wages Act 1936, which applied only to factories and certain specified establishments, and those employees who draw monthly wages up to the INR 20,000, and the Minimum Wages Act 1948, which applied only to scheduled employments. Code has 9 chapters, 67 sections, and 26 definitions of constantly used terms. When we see definitions of newly introduced and existing Amendment 1, which are like Section 2, Contractor, Section 2G, Contract Labor, Section 2H, Cooperative Society, Section 2I, Cooperation, Section 2K, Employee, Section 2I, Third, Employer Contractor, Section 2R, Inspector cum Facilitator. Definitions again newly conducted under Amendment 2, Amended 2. It is Section 2Q, Industrial Disputes, Section 2S, Minimum Wages, Section 2Y, Wages. At least 50% of total remuneration to be wages when we are talking about wages then. If the exclusions under the definition of wages exceed 1/2 or such other percent as may be notified by the central government of the entire remuneration, the amount which exceeds such 1/2 or such other percent shall be treated as wages. There is one case study on wage code. Suppose if basic wage is 10,000, DA or cost of living allowances is 3,500, HRA is 8,000, conveyance allowances are 3,500, bonus is 800, PF, whatever employer share is 2,000 rupees, commission is 4,250. If the total is 32,100, then the basic should ensure, which should be 16,050 rupees. Like anything in excess of 50% of excluded categories shall get added to wages under this code, that is 2550 in the instant case, Hence, for the purpose of computation of wages, it would be 10,000 plus 3,500, the first 41 plus 2,550, totaling which should be rupees 16,050, which is 50% of the gross wages. When we'll see worker, then working journalists, sales promotion employees, they will be treated as a worker. Now, Section 3(1) equal remuneration provisions, Section 7(1)(a) special allowances is renamed as cost of living allowances. Section 9 in bracket 1 fixation of floor wages. Section 10, if daily rated employee or worker is provided half day work by his or her employer, then he or she will have to be paid full day wages. And OT wages shall not be paid less than twice of the normal rate of wage. Section 17 in bracket 2 and 3rd, it says that in case of removal, retrenchments or resignations of the employee, the wages payable to him shall be paid within 2 working days from his removal, dismissal, retrenchment or resignations as the case may be. As per section 18 in bracket 2, deductions from the wages, then deductions from the wages cannot be more than 50% of such wages. Under bonus chapter 4, the ceiling for eligibility of employee under the act is not yet defined, like the 15,000 or 21,000. So this ceiling is not yet defined. Section 26 in bracket 1, it will be pronounced by the appropriate government from the time to time, and it can be vary from state to state. Section 26 in bracket 2 says, for the purpose of calculation of bonus, there shall be separate notification fixing the wages on which bonus shall be computed or the minimum wages, whichever is higher. Section 31 in bracket 2, it says audited accounts of the company shall not be questioned. Just a moment, I think something is getting stuck. Section now details of fines and details of fine. Section 52, employees and registered trade unions are empowered to file an application or lodge the complaint against the employer before the appropriate court of law in this regard. Earlier, the state powers were vested only with GLO or ALC. Section 54, fine ranges from 10,000 to 1 lakh rupees per month, per count. White Section 69, Payment of Bonus Act, Payment of Wages Act, Equal Remuneration Act, and Minimum Wages Act are now replaced. However, if any cases are already pending before the court under the above replaced act, the same shall be trialed under this code. Responsibilities of the employer, it will be Rule 46, employer must transfer unclaimed bonus amount to the office of the Chief Labor Commissioner within 6 months from its due date. However, this clause does not say it is applicable only for left employees or deceased employees. Rule 56, where the contractor fails to pay minimum bonus to his or her employees, the principal employer shall be responsible for such payment. No option for recovery from the contractor provided. Now, there are the states-wise draft framework released. So these are the state where wage coded has been released. Like if you'll see wage code, the wage code has been published in all states. But yes, there are other 3 codes which are not published, like Assam, Chhattisgarh, Himachal Pradesh, like if you'll see Industrialization Code. So these are the details where other wage code have not been published. But yes, wage code has been published in all states across India. Now we need to take care about the principal employer, HR and compliance team need to be focused to comply with the changes in wage code. So review of salary structure and impact of analysis, review of compliances and timelines, and review of policies and procedures to avoid any penalties, any gaps in compliances. So these were from my side. If there is any question, please. Okay, sir. Hello.
Sir, you may continue, sir.
Yeah, so this were from my side. Is there any question, any queries from the audience?
Mr. Ayaz, are there any questions in the chat box? संतोष सिन्हा जी, आप उसको स्क्रीन शेयरिंग को बंद कर दीजिए. आप
Yes, yes.
आपका अभी बाकी है क्या प्रेजेंटेशन?
No, it's over. It's over. It's over.
हाँ, तो स्क्रीन शेयरिंग बंद कर दीजिए. एक क्वेश्चन, अयाज जी जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है उसका नाम भी भेजिए ना. और मेरी रिक्वेस्ट है कि जो क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहे हैं वो अपना मोबाइल नंबर और ईमेल आईडी भी भेजें. एक क्वेश्चन ये हो रहा है कि वेदर चेंज इन न्यू लेबर लॉज इज एक्सपेक्टेड इन नियर फ्यूचर. मैं इसका आंसर देना चाहूंगा. मैं कोड को 2008 से जब से बनना शुरू हुआ था और 2009 में जब कोड ऑन वेजेज पास हुआ, वो एक्ट बना, मैं ट्रैक कर रहा हूं. तो भगवान ही इसका मालिक है, क्योंकि कब कौन सा कानून कब आएगा. जैसे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट को तो ये पता होना चाहिए कि डायरेक्ट टैक्स कोड कितनी बार बन के नहीं आया. एक नेशनल टैक्स ट्राइब्यूनल एक्ट है 2005 का, हम 2022 में हैं. वो एक्ट भी बन गया तो भी इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं हुआ है.
बट अडोपिया जी, एक चीज मैं ऐड करना चाहूंगा. आई वुड लाइक टू ऐड वन थिंग. As I have seen, my last assignment was with Core Integra, where I was taking care of compliance for more than 35 A categories companies. So I would just like to share most of the companies HR and compliance team are really alert, and they are in touch with their consulting partner. They are in touch with expert in the market. Yes, what kind of precautions we should take care of. And for your kind information, most of the companies I have seen that they have adjusted basic wages up to 50% of the gross wages, because last was the increment time and all those things.
नहीं, मेरा जो आंसर है ना सिन्हा साहब, मेरा आंसर डिफरेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. क्वेश्चन क्या है कि नए कोड इंप्लीमेंट उसका आंसर है कि वो संभावना बहुत ज्यादा है, क्योंकि इसमें काफी काम हुआ है, काफी कंसल्टेटिव प्रोसेस हुई है.
वेरी ट्रू.
कोड एक्ट में बदल गया है, सेंट्रल रूल बन गए हैं, कई जगह स्टेट रूल बन गए हैं. और हम अगर नए कोड सीखेंगे तो हमें फायदा ही होगा, बिकॉज दिस इज द ओल्ड वाइन इन अ न्यू बोटल. इट इज अ कंसोलिडेशन ऑफ द लॉज एंड ब्रिंगिंग यूनिफॉर्मिटी.
वेरी ट्रू.
तो ये शिखर ब्रह्म भट्ट का क्वेश्चन है, वेदर द वेजेज कोड विल अप्लाई स्टेट वाइज और सेंट्रल. प्रतीक, यू कैन आंसर दिस. दिस इज अ क्वेश्चन फॉर ऑल लेबर कोड्स. कि जो लेबर कोड्स हैं, मतलब मेरी जो स्टडी है, लेबर कोड्स विल अप्लाई टू द होल all the states.
All states, yes.
And there are central rules. And there will be state rules, because labor also, it is a state subject in the Constitution of India. 7th schedule, list 2 में there are some state subject and there are central laws. जैसे अभी भी central laws ही है हमारे पास. एक मिस्टर नवीन का क्वेश्चन है, प्रतीक जी, यू कैन टेक ओवर फ्रॉम हियर. Does the provident fund limit 1800 applies? उसने 1800 कैसे लिखा है? PF limit 1800.
Like 15%, 15%.
12% of 15,000.
15,000. Yes.
12%, 15,000 is applicable. It will continue the same definition or the limit. Right now, they are also proposing that limit should be 21,000. आपने न्यूज़ में पढ़ा भी होगा, and there are some rounds of that, and they want to specifically, when now संतोष सिन्हा जी ने बताया था, the whole wage definition now going to be common across, bonus, PF, ESI, gratuity, everything is going to be common, that wage. So what they're also trying to do is that 15,000, they're going to, do it as 21,000, so that more members are going to be there. So अगर 21,000 अगर हो जाता है, so it will be, the ceiling limit would be 21,000 for 12%. So right now it is 1,800, which is the ceiling limit, compulsory under Section 2FF. He will not be excluded employee. Above 15,000, there is, if the person's basic is above 15,000, the employer and the organization have three choices. First is continue the PF contribution to whatever wages, 25,000 hai, 30,000 hai, whatever basic wages, continue to that. A lot of organizations are doing it. Second option is to restrict PF contribution up to 15,000. PF basic up to 15,000, irrespective of whatever your real basic wages is. Like if your real basic wages is 25,000, 1 lakh, whatever it is, you can restrict it to 15,000. So the contribution, 1,800, what you're asking, would remain that. The third option is if he was never member of PF earlier, or he is withdrawn and he ceases to be member, then, and if his basic is much more than 15,000, 15,001 and above, with the employer and employee consent, you can actually exclude him out of PF. Now, minimum wages, more or less, say in Karnataka or in Haryana, NCR circles, the wages itself will become, at least the skilled employee become about almost 15,000. So any new person you induct, and if his basic wages, if you configure, as a CA, more than 15,000, he can, and he was never member of PF, he can be completely opted out of PF. But again, अगर employee चाहता है कि मेरे को चाहिए contribution and it's my social security benefit, which is very good, then you have to contribute. Otherwise, you can exclude him out of PF.
And this is only for the new employee. Like if he is going to opt PF first time, if he is already registered, then it will continue, like for the contribution and remittance.
Others you can take another questions, I guess. So
yeah, what is the other question, Dr. Salim?
It's there in the chat box actually. आप अगर chat open कीजिए ना, तो इसमें है. We can address some questions from.
प्रतीक जी, आप leadership लीजिए. तो the another question is whether LIN, मतलब एक लेबर आइडेंटिफिकेशन नंबर होगा, whether they will replace all other registration number under labor law. ये अमृत राज का क्वेश्चन है.
Yeah, there is question.
And there is a same question is asked by Bhavani Shankar Paul. And Salim ji, आप भी leadership लीजिए. Take over the proceedings, please.
So I would like to address that. Then thank you very much, Arukaji. Now, you also must be aware of MCSI, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, where there was single window clearance. There are some 12 to 13 enactments, right from your Companies Act to your PF registration, ESI registration. Whenever you create a company, all the registrations can be taken from there itself, and a common identification number, LIN also created from there. The objective of the central government, as well as in terms of the state government, after the so-called labor codes are implemented, is to simplify it much more and have a very, very single window ticket system. When I was there, in fact, and especially they are also doing something for the MSME, outfits also. So when I was there in Delhi, also representing MSME ministry, so these are the suggestions which were given. So this LIN will be replacing very soon, I would say, not so soon also, but it will be revealing. One identification will be there. Maybe they may link it to the corporate PAN card number or something like that. That's going to be definitely happening very soon. And तो आप जैसे आरुके जी ने बताया वो भगवान मालिक है. So we need to just wait.
Very helpful.
Any other questions?
Yes, check for any other questions, please.
I think there are a lot of participants who are there. You should definitely ask questions on wage code, labor code, and a very, very good example given by Santosh Sinha ji on the wage. many of the practitioners, in fact, even including chartered accountants, which we meet, the part of profession, and media में सीधा सीधा बता रहे media में that your 50% of the gross wages. So the gross wages is nothing but your inclusion जो है exclusion है उसका 50% ले रहा है, which is not the case actually. Apart from the gross wages which is there as a part of the CTC, cost to company, you also have other two components which is outside your gross wages, which is employer contribution towards pension or PF, and B, it is a bonus component. So ये दोनों को भी लेना है because and you add this two and add all other allowances and you add basic. The total, the 50% should be the the wages should be 50% of the total amount.
Floor wages.
It's very important information which Sandershan has given, and very much important for all the CS to note that it is not the only gross wages of 50%. It is gross plus
employer portion, yes.
PF contribution, employer contribution, PF, bonus contribution, and you total that, and that is 50%. So if you were to see, unlike media hype, which is here, 50% of gross wages here, ideally it comes around, would be surprised. The overall, if you want to see the calculation, reverse calculation of the gross wages, we are all Excel experts, it comes around 62 to 64% of the gross wages. It's not 50% of the gross wages, 60 to 63% of gross wages. So if you have 10,000 basic and 10,000 other allowance, 20,000 and you put okay 50% you compliant, and you give a CS certificate on that, you will be non-compliant because you're not taking other components like employer PF contribution and bonus contribution. So please ये ध्यान रखना.
Yes.
So by which date? By which date?
Sir, carry on.
Pratik and Adukia ji, I would just like to give a message to all respective audience that yes, Adukia ji, whatever you said that everyone should come upfront and feel free to contact to any of the compliance like subject matter experts or any compliance partner or the agencies like you or whoever is there to at least simplify their queries and all those things. We are always available. I'm sure Pratik ji is also very enthusiastic and always available person. If there is any query, either Karma or Pratik ji or Adukia ji, there are so many other consulting partners also. But what I have faced that the compliance team and HR team have a kind of fairness, like whether whatever things I'm going to do or doing, whether this is correct or not. So yes, just see, everyone is not a master. In fact, they should not fear to contact to compliance partner, to the market, whoever the subject matter expert, before going or taking any decisions. Yeah. Please go ahead, sir.
I would just ask you to show the association of the practicing advocates and the chartered accountants. How and at what instances do you feel that an association of chartered accountant is required at this place, and so that the people, the participants who are here, they do understand, and as our chairman, sir, Dr. Rajkumar Adukia suggested that the chartered should get into even the non-traditional areas of practice. So in a nutshell, if this thing can come out, it would go into the brains of our participants, and they can ponder over it.
Dr. Salim, I would just like to share my experience at the end of the day. Whatever audit report get finalized for any of the organization, it get finalized by the chartered accountant only. Though participation of all compliance box, compliance lead like me is there, but yes, whatever final report is being finalized, it is being finalized the agencies like Deloitte and the major role in Deloitte or any other agency, the chartered accountants. who are very sharp-minded to find out the gaps, not from the purpose of for the dominating to the person, but yes, to correcting the process of the compliances, to correcting the process of each and every activities of the organizations. That organization should work in a very proper way, very proper manner. So yes, as far as my understanding, the role of chartered accountants are very important for each and every organization.
Pratik Sir, are you ready to take it ahead from here, or Sinha Sir, you still have some inputs to be given across?
Yeah, because I think my time was 5 to 6.
Pratikji, please, yeah, Pratikji, please carry on.
So my time was 5 to 6 for the 3 codes which I had. But
So,
there
sir,
are some
before you continue, so I would just introduce you because
there are some couple of questions.
Yeah.
No. So I would like to let's say there are some other couple of questions whether the labor will benefit in the new regime is more benefit in the old regime. So what I would like to say is, and if you really study whoever has asked this question, in fact, that government and it's been since so many years with the support of ILO, recommendation ILO, which earlier Khatkar have also told, government has taken a very balanced approach. One is they want to ensure that social security benefit is extended not only now to the organized sector, which is there, but also to the unorganized sector. There are various definitions in the labor code, especially social security code, which they have added, like gig workers, platform workers, which right now currently there's no labor laws as such. Like you have Swiggy, Zomato, and all those people which are there. There's no labor law such. Your housemaid who works in your your house, there is no protection for them. So this is this social security code and the codes which are coming up, they're really balanced out. They are also covering a lot of unorganized sector as well. So that's very important just to answer this question. So I'm so sure that it is just not the bookbinding exercise and just not that old wine in new bottle, but you can say more apart from the wine, you have more chiselings and other things are also which government has put up. More beneficial to the employee, but a balanced approach, the employer and employee, which I would say. All right, I think over to you.
I'll just go on with your small introduction that I have with me, Pratik Bhai. Because that was required and in a flow, we couldn't accommodate that. So we have got Pratik Vaidya. He's basically a serial entrepreneur, tech-savvy business growth and customer experience enthusiast. He is right now the chairman and managing director with Karma Global Tech Management LLC. He is a strategic thinker and an effective leader with a passion for people, tech, and deep understanding of business growth, profit drivers, and P&L. An out-of-the-box thinker with a flair for designing the solutions to solve complex businesses. He has also come up with an app, and I would like to, talk about that also. Sir, if you could just, explain that in your, from your side, it will be more better rather than I explain, and then we can start with the presentation.
Thank you very much for a nice introduction. In fact, so in fact, first of all, thank you very much, ICAI, to give the opportunity. And we've been talking and all, but now since you officially introduced, I officially also thank Adukia and the rest of the members from ICAI, especially, and we've been in touch also. Speak on the very, very August day, which we know it is not only Maharashtra Day and the Gujarat Day, but also RERA Day as well as the Labor Day is there. So good afternoon to everyone, or good evening, I would say. It's almost late afternoon. As far as this beta version is concerned now, over the years, as I told, Karma, while we are doing, not in India, but we are doing the HR and compliance, as well as the technology arm of Karma, which is there, is professing in not only India, but other countries like US, UK, Canada, we have Philippines, Dubai and all. But always my urge and my always intrinsic habit is to share knowledge. And that I've been doing since so many years. Not only this particular ICAI forum, but many forums. I've been sharing knowledge on, and I believe that whatever I learn, I should give it. So be it into labor laws is concerned, be it in compliance, HR, tech is concerned. So I also consult into AI and tech as well in other organizations. Coming back to the app, so we thought that, why don't we make a small app? Because when a lot of people, HR is there, CAs are there, or people don't have that information which is available. So while I'm always active on WhatsApp groups and 100 groups which I'm part of, I thought I talked to my team and I got my team, which is called a Bumblebee team. They created this small working app, which will just give a basic information about labor laws, labor codes. Then there is an advisory team also, which is there associated. So any information you want or advice you want, they'll be happy to share. And this is all sharing knowledge, no charge of money as such and all. I would really urge, I've shared one link there. You should go download and see the app, give your suggestions, comments. It's just a beta version which I've launched. And again, it's more about knowledge sharing than whatever it is. So I believe in that, and everyone should learn. And I was very, very inspired by what Adukia also spoke about writing a book and all. And that's really, he has written more than 300 books. So he's like a big book guru and author. But I think every person, every CA, every professional in life, at least you should write one book. It may be a labor law, it may be anything which you done, because that gives your process, your thought leadership to take it to the next level. So with that, I would just like to share and orient. Now, labor laws is a very dry subject, which I understand. And it may be not maybe 1/5 or 1/6 of the each act. Then, there you have your Income Tax Act or GST Act and all. But, there are part of some are cognizable offense, some are non-cognizable offense. Today, if GST, even if you default, you have a time. Tax, you have a time. You default and you have time. You will not be put behind bars immediately. However, the provisions of labor codes and labor laws which is there, and very much important that it is related to employees, related to labor. If you do not, pay PF or ESI, do not pay minimum wages, there is a provision of imprisonment also. Not that it is really invoked many times, but yes, there's a provision which is there. And if there are defaulting parties or repeated offenses of really extracting money out of and deducting the money and not paying the PF, not paying the minimum wages, not paying the social contribution and all, exploiting the employees or workmen or worker, then the employer may go behind bars. So that's very, very critical for you guys to understand that while it may be bailable often, sometimes it may be non-bailable in terms of this, especially the newer act, which is called as SSWW, or it is very, very clearly known as POSH Act. That is social, sexual harassment for women at workplace, or it's called POSH Act. Very, very stringent compliances which are there, which is only for the women, but those are things. So point which I want to make is before I start this labor code is that labor law itself is very important. It is related to human resource. It is not going to go off. Finances are all about numbers. Sales are all about numbers. But human being is not objective, is very subject. So it's a very delicate matter which every individual need to understand. So it is all going with human dynamics. So that's very important, and that's the reason these labor laws are constructed in a way in since years, right from 1919, which Khatkar beautifully explained about, the overall evolution of the labor law, how this labor day made and everything till the current time. It's ever changing. Today we have the labor codes. More changes will happen. So with this, I would just like to start off my presentation. So what I would try to do is, while I'm going to speak on 3 codes, I have reserved 1 code, that is wage code, which is already covered by Santosh. I may just touch some points on that and open for more questions. So I do not want to just bombard you with my information which is there already in our PPT, and we will share definitely with all the CA friends here. But you should ask questions. It may be the most rubbish question, but you please ask questions, because this is a platform which you not get all dignitaries like Khatkar and Santosh Sinha and other guys. Okay. So we have already discussed on this, the 4 codes which are there: code on wages, industrial relation, OSH code, and code on social security. Just skip this. Let me just jump onto the topic which is there of given to me. So out of the 3 topics, the first topic which I'm trying to talk is on industrial relation code. So this is the code with existing legislation was there as Industrial Employment Standing Order Act, Industrial Dispute Act, and Trade Union Act. It's everything to do with industrial relations. So the current code which is there, the industrial relation code, which got released on 29 September 2020. In fact, all the 3 codes, the rest of the codes, apart from wage code, they just got hurriedly, I would say, use that word hurriedly, got implemented. They wanted to implement immediately because of the so much of issues of migrant workers that happened and all that. They wanted to implement this labor code as such, the labor rules as Santosh now showed. There are so many things which are pending also. So let's talk about industrial relation code. So 3 main aspects are very important. I hope you're able to see my screen actually. I'm just talking, but I don't know whether you are able to see my screen.
No, it's visible, Pratik ji, visible. Please go ahead.
You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is. It is visible. Absolutely visible.
Oh, okay, well, yeah. So when we talk about this 3 codes, very important is that this code applies to all establishments where separate thresholds for layoffs are there, the retrenchment is there, and a closure is also there. So any dispute which is there, right? So it may result into maybe retrenchment of a lot of employees, or closure of the business. Okay, or when you have to close a business, what you need to do for the employees also, or labor which is there. So this is the provision which is given in this. And what is the requirement of standing orders? In this employment standing order is there. Standing order is nothing but, I would say, in a very layman terms, it is today's HR policy in terms of the labor laws which is required. So that is what a standing order is. So what is the standing order? What are the terms and conditions you need to require? You have a badli worker, different types of workers are defined. So those are things which are there. So the code also copies the same thing which is there in earlier act as well. But very important thing which the code has done is the chapters related to trade union and things, they have really changed. It is applicable now to all establishment workers. Earlier it was applicable to very few establishment workers, but now it is applicable to all establishment workers. So that's very important. Other one also wanted to tell you is that this is applicable to the standing orders. When we talk about the chapter of standing orders, is applicable to establishment 300 or more, which means if you have less than 300, you can have a hire and fire rule or other things. So that's a multiple, but definitely you can do such things as far as labor code is concerned. So this code is designed to safeguard the right of employers and employees more of ease of doing business. That's the reason this 300 300 workers or employees threshold was there. So currently we have 100, now it is 300. So this is the definition of worker, which I would like to showcase here, where it is expanded. I told you it also includes your journalists and sales promotion employees as well. New conditions for legal strikes are also put up. That earlier what used to happen is that you need to go in a proceeding to at the labor office. You need to give a notice also. But now you can go without notice of 60-day notice, and you can still do strike. The strike which is there is also defined as mass casualty by more than 50% of workers on a given day. So they've just tried to redefine this as a mass casualty. If more than 50% of the defined workers were there, workers who only was called strike. Very important in this, balancing out for the benefit of the worker, which they have done. And one of the question was of reskilling fund. Now they're setting that the workers or employees, they should be skilled. So this reskilling work is training of the workers who were just laid off because of certain production issues and everything. So that fund is created now to reskill them. So then once the situation is good, for example, we went through the COVID and the situation was very bad and people, organizations laid off a lot of employees. So this laid off, when they lay off, they're not sitting at home. They're getting wages, but some 15% of the last one wages that's contributed towards this fund, and the reskilling is the provision which is given as a code. So this is a very, very important highlight which I would want to push it under this particular labor code. Now, other things which I would also like to say before I talk on this particular subject on the collective bargaining and how the union, how much the union should be doing. It is this applicable to all workers, including supervisory capacity, earning wage up to 18,000. Earlier it was 10,000. Now it will be 18,000. Supervisory also is included in this, but wages up to 18,000. So they're there. So workers.
So I would just interrupt over here. I'm very sorry. We have got Advocate Shashikant Bhanudas Savle over here. He's one of the dignitaries who has come down here, and his eminent presence is welcome. He would just talk to us for, say, 5-6 minutes, maximum maybe 10 minutes, so that he can give a lot of enlightenment to us. Shashikant sir, I would just introduce you, and then if you could just put on your camera, and we could be able to see you also. That will be really great, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Namaste, sir. I think I'm visible to you, no?
Yes, you're visible to everybody, all the participants over here. We have got around more than 400 viewers who are actually logged in live to the system. So a small introduction where I just want to introduce sir. Shashikant Bhanudas Savle Saab is basically right now, he is the President Industrial Codes Maharashtra 2017 to 18. He has also been the Principal District Judge Nagpur 2018-19. Retired on 31st May 2019. Presently, he is practicing as an advocate and consultant, working as Chairman Fee Regulatory Committee Mumbai. Wow. And there's a lot of work with Fee Regulatory Committee. I do understand. I keep on reading the newspapers. So you might be keeping too busy. For the Educational Department of Maharashtra. It's an honorary post that he's doing. So it's a thankless job, I would say. During period of practice, legal advisor of Satpura Sugar Factory, District Nandurbar. Having experience of dealing with labor matters as advocate from employees' side and also as a president of the industrial courts. Sir, please enlighten us. Just give a few words to us. And, that would be as a kind of a felicitation to this entire event on the Labor Day. Sir, please go ahead, sir.
Thanks, sir. I'm really happy to be amongst you all on this auspicious day of Labor's Day. We celebrate it always. Kamgar Din, that is in Marathi, we call this day. This has a very significant occasion these days. And I would like to say that from this group and project which you always undertake, much wisdom and knowledge is shared amongst all relating to the labor's problem, relating to the industrialist employees problem. This is really good. I have sometimes participated in the programs. Presently, I'm that way. Have an occasion nowadays. Initially, in the period of practice, I solved the problems of sugar factory, tried to solve the labor and factory administration. Then during my service period, I had become the industrial judge also as the president of, and now again I have an occasion to deal with the problems of laborers, not in the sense of laborers, but the higher officers. I've been appointed by many companies, corporations to solve the disputes between the officers and the employment. So again, the same job I am doing, solving the problems. Many times I undertake the work of or the I do effort for amicable settlement between them. But if it is not done, I had to work as the inquiry officer also. So from all the angles I have the experience today, therefore I would share my this feeling only, that a balance has to be always really struck down. It is not that from the labor side there is wrong always, or generally as the employers criticize, the laborers are adamant they do not work properly, sincerely, and they take in the form of union, they take the law in their hands. This is one side of the criticism made against the laborers. Against the employers also, the allegations are they are much capitalist, they are exploiting the laborers, etc. I have seen both the aspects. I have sit amongst both the parties many times. But the only feeling that I can share is that there is a need of really an amicable thinking from both the sides. It is not that always the laborers are wrong, I'm repeating, and the employers are wrong. Both of them are sometimes right, both of them are sometimes wrong. The reason many times the laborer become adamant is that they do not have the knowledge of the provisions of law perfectly. Sometimes the union members also unnecessarily prejudice their mind against the employer for their own purposes maybe. But the misunderstandings thus are created amongst both the groups, and that creates mainly the problem. So if the knowledge is shared amongst both the parties and every person who is claiming to have been unnecessarily assailed by either the employer or by the laborer must have a perfect knowledge of law. He must understand his case. He should know where he's standing. If this is done, then perhaps he will be more introspective. He'll be able to perhaps understand what is his claim and how much the claim can stand. This understanding is more needed. According to me, this type of learning which your group is sharing would be definitely making these parties aware of the laws of the situations, and perhaps it would definitely be a cause for reducing the litigation. So with these perspectives, I really congratulate you all. And Mr. Salimji, you gave me the opportunity of joining with you. I'm really thankful to you. Adukia sir, I think he is the Rishi, I call him always. Muni, I call always. Because he works in many field he is working. He has conducted workshops, online workshops. I'm really since about 5 to 7 years I'm with him, I know. So with his inspiration also always this type of programs are conducted. I salute to him. I salute to you all in fact, because individually I'm that way not much aware, but I've seen your performance. So I feel that you all are doing very excellent work. I really salute to you all. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me also. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. And for your information, from your fraternity, we have got three speakers over here. We have got Advocate Ashwini Kumar Khatkar. We have got Advocate Santosh Sinha. We've got Advocate Pratik Vaidya.
Yeah.
And Advocate Pratik Vaidya is continuing the session. And just, so that you can have a word over here. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of the entire CECL and EA committee, as well as CA Dr. Rajkumar Adukia sir, who is also the chairman of the committee. Thank you. We are really obliged, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Pratik sir, please, you can go ahead from here, sir. You can go ahead.
Thank you, Shashikant Sablaji, to address this gathering and dot on time. Actually, you tried, and very important today's day. And I was telling, today is Maharashtra Day, today is Gujarat Day, today is Labor Day, today is Rera Day. very, very important. Today, Sunday is there. And thank you very much for your wishes. And we'll continue to share knowledge on whatever. And then it's like a knowledge gathering. I'm not saying that I'm a labor law expert, but when we talk and when we share knowledge, we gain more knowledge. So thank you very much for being here. And I would just like to share my screen again and talk.
And so once you share your screen, there is a question also from V. Subramani Iyer. So just if you could attend that question and then, move ahead.
So what I'll do is, as a part of the presentation, what I'll do is, so that we do not do the, try to break the flow, I would want to urge all the participants to post the questions. And I would like to wrap this by maximum 5:30, 5:40 maximum, and then another 20 minutes, I will try to address as many questions all applicable. So don't worry on that.
So I would request V. Subramani Iyer Sahab, if you are listening to me, to hold on till the the presentation ends. Yes, obviously the flow should also be maintained. In between, if we keep on answering the questions, and obviously the flow gets disturbed. So obviously it will be attended as Pratik Vaidya Sahab has said. So please hold on till then. Sir, continue. Please continue.
Thank you very much. I was just talking and discussing about this particular highlight of the code of sole negotiating union. But before that, I just want to also tell you that in this labor code, and across all the three labor codes, actually, all the four labor codes, the contract labor definition has been revised. Now it includes even interstate migrant worker act, interstate migrant workers as well, and even other part-time workers. So, so those are very important things to do. That the interstate migrant worker and part-time worker are also included now, which is not there earlier. But what are excluded workers? So you should know also in the contract labor and what are the excluded workers. So there are the people who are on permanent basis who are working in an organization. They will not have. They're a managerial cadre of the employees. They will not be part of the contract labor. And so that's what just want to do. Also, would like to just share one more important definition, which you should be knowing as a CA, is about a new definition on fixed-term employment. And currently also fixed-term employment are there. I have seen a lot of organizations and things where they have a fixed-term contract, okay, which is also called a fixed-term employment. The CAs advise them to deduct TDS because they give the bills and all, and it deducts the TDS, which is not the case because he is still an employee for the organization. He is working for the organization. If he is working as a shared resource, working and consulting many organizations, that's a different story. But I have seen that a lot of employees who are there who are working on fixed term employment, and the organization only deducting TDS. So as a CA, you need to ensure that this is also not to be done. And the new labor code, especially IR code, this fixed term employment is there, and the benefits are par with the permanent worker. In fact, I would like to add that the gratuity, as you know very clearly, the gratuity is only applicable if you work for more than 4 years and 240 days, or you can say 5 years. However, for the fixed term employment, if you have a contract, gratuity is applicable even for the completion of 1 year as well. So very important to just know while I speak about this particular aspect, the trade union aspect. So let's go through this. What do you mean by trade union? So Khatkar also had he already shared about the information on the trade union. There is a body, or you can actually currently also if you have more than 7 members together, you can form a union. So there's a body which is a body to talk to the management about their workers and unions and all, and you can talk to them, and you can have the plea, because sometimes workers do not have that voice out. So it's a body who will be voicing up to the employer. But now with the current times and all, the things are changing. So what they are trying to do is that they have come up with a feature called as, or come up with a provision called as sole negotiating union, which means that sole negotiating union will become a single point of contact with the employer. I have seen, in fact, we have a lot of the clients, labor law clients, which we have more than 500 plus clients.
with the big manufacturing or the hotels and others, they have multiple unions. One is union for some class, they are union for contractor, there are some unions. So there are 3 to 4 multiple unions there in single organization. It's very, very, it only happens in India, and that is what it is. So, but what with the new code, which they're trying to do is they're composing a negotiating council or sole negotiating council. So what it says is that there are 2 or more union, the trade union which are there, they're designated trade union with 51% of more support. So you have say 100 workers. If one union has 51 worker support, then they become a sole negotiating union. So any other union, small union, you have 20 employees, 30 employees and all, they become part of the provisions, and they will not be able to voice their opinion to the employer. Only the sole negotiating union would be talking to the person. Now, it may also happen, arbitrarily, you may ask that what happens if none of them are there, they sold, if it's less than 51%, then what happens? In that particular scenario, designated one representative council for each other 20% of support which is there in negotiating council. They will be, part of as a group formed for sole negotiation. So these are the new provision which is there. Right now it is not there, and there is so much of skirmish along with so many trade unions in one organization or one particular unit or factory or establishment. So I just wanted to share this very, very important provision of this sole trading union. So old provisions, let's just see the old and new key differences which I want to know. So there was no provision on negotiating union, which I just spoke about it. Standing orders earlier was only up to 100 employees or workers. Okay, now it is 300 workers. And I just spoke about fixed term employment. So there was nothing called, no provision for fixed term employment. So employees were often into contract, and it was not regulated. Like, for example, now if you do the TDS deduction and all, it will be non-compliant. So you should not do it. And earlier there was no concept of skill reskilling fund, which I told. So now the reskilling of employee reskilling fund for the workers is also created. Any questions so far for this particular industrial relation code I would take up. Otherwise, I would just jump on to the next code, which is occupation, health, and working. So I'll just take 1 minute. So this question, which is there, as now see, okay, so now let me just see, now this relates to the IR itself, the question. So I would like to take this question now. So as per your understanding information, what kind of labor code violation, non-compliance led to severe labor unrest in iPhone case? Now see, this iPhone case is a very classic case if you see which happened. One important point which everyone need to understand is that and then this happened for the not for the permanent employees, but for the workers, the contractual workers. The contractual worker in that manufacturing facility, there was an issue, and they were not being paid wages by the contractors and all, and that's become very, very important to note that not only the principal law should be compliant, but contractual labor also should be compliant. So this is very, very important to ensure. And this Apple manufacturing, the contract was given to Foxconn. So Foxconn was the organization running this all, and this whole problem came on the basic interest. So the important aspect for any of the organizations who are coming from outside is to ensure that the come what may, the ease of doing business is definitely there, but labor law should be really observed in strictest terms. You need to ensure that you have a right labor law compliance partner who would not only be just a consultant, but a partner to the organization to share knowledge, to guide, and ensure that the companies who are from the foreign organizations, they are not left in lurch, because this labor, as I told earlier, is a very, very sensitive subject. So this is very, very important. And that's it. I just wanted to share this about this particular point on this question. Any other questions related to industrial relations? I would like to just answer those. All right, so I'll just move ahead. So we need to ensure that this the Foxconn company, there was a problem with the Foxconn company who manufactures phones for iPhone or Apple. So they had this problem. They had to shut down the plant. Okay. So let me just take you through the next provision, which is the existing legislation. So now when we talk about OSH, which is occupational safety, health, and working conditions. So a lot of, anything to do with working condition. Now, even in the Shop and Association Act, when it is non-manufacturing, it will all come under Shop and Association Act, right? Manufacturing come under Factories Act and other act which is there. So the Shop and Association Act also has a provision for safety, health, and working conditions. Okay, Maharashtra also the new act which has come, Maharashtra Shop and Association and Regulation Act, so 2017. So one needs to note also is that it may also happen in future that once these laws are implemented, the code is implemented, especially the OSH code is implemented, you may also see a sea change in your Shops and Association Act, because this is covering the National Act. Factories Act is National Act, whereas Shop and Association Act is a state act. Every state has its own Shops and Association Act, which defines the commercial establishment, restaurant, hotels, and non-manufacturing category. So we'll see the likelihood of that getting implemented maybe by next year. Let's talk about this particular OSH code. The existing legislation, as you can see on the screen, these are the acts which are subsumed, right from your factories to mines to contract labor. You see, every act has it. It was enacted because of some revolution and all. Right from Contract Labor Act, you must have seen in the movies like Diwar and all, where the Mukaddam is there and there's a huge queue, and people are the supervisor is disbursing his salary and wages, right? So, and then being exploited. So this Contract Labor Act was actually enacted to see that there's no exploitation of contract labor and all. Similarly, mine work was there. Interstate migrant workers was one of the good act which was implemented, where very, very important for all CAs to know is that interstate migrant worker is applicable currently in the current scenario to only the contractual labor, where if there is a contractor who goes to another state, say for example, he goes to Gujarat state or he goes to Madhya Pradesh state, and he appoints the people from there, that state, and gets to Maharashtra for them to work. Okay, then it is called an interstate migrant worker. But if he employs the person, he must have gone to the railway station, as you know and we know, and he is deployed a person from there, and he's appointed in the same state itself, then he's not interstate migrant worker. It is very, very cliched act as such with such provisions, and it is only restricted to employers only, not to the it is to contractors, not for the employers also. So this is a key change in this. I would talk in this particularly in my other slides and all. Then you have working generalists, some different act is there. Motor transport worker, different act is there. These all acts are to do with service conditions only. It is related to safety, working conditions, everything. So that's it. They just wanted to just push everything down and just create this new OSH code. So it is a comprehensive, you can say, closing in all of 13 acts and making it one act, which is very, very important comprehensive consolidation they have done in this particular thing. So it is applicable to all establishments where you have more than 10 employees in a manufacturing setup, and including all those things which are there, or a 40 or more, which is even if it's manufacturing setup, if they are without the aid of power, be 40 and more. So that's what the act says about. Establishment covered by the code will be required to register within 60 days. The registration in OSH code as well as in industrial relations, they all remain same. They have not put anything on the registration as such. But otherwise, there are things which I already spoke about. Some of the changes which the act has. So, so continuing. So manufacturing, I spoke and all. One sec. My screen froze on. Just hold on. Okay, I'm not able to. So inclusion, I already spoke about Interstate State Migrant Workers Act, and This is a very, very important information which I'm reiterating. The recruited buyer through a contract in one state and employment in another state, that's very important. So this now also includes, it's not only contract, but now it also includes the employer side as well. So this is very important for everyone to note this. The interested migrant worker also gets the benefit under ES Act and PF Act. And currently they are just forced for the medical checkup and all. They also includes, or cine workers. Now the cine workers now been renamed as audiovisual workers as part of this act. So this is very important. The code is put up to bring many welfare schemes for the employees, free of cost health checkup. There was one link which I had shared earlier on a WhatsApp message, which I will share with the group after this presentation, where there are free of cost health checkup for everyone who is not under PFESIC. It may be a maid, it may be a rickshaw driver, anything, which the government has launched a portal for that. And I will share the link. And also, there are things which government has done about free health checkup as far as this code is concerned for the once in a year, and also journey allowances, because if the person has now go from to and fro from his place of work or his state, and also the journey allowance, because of the provision which is there in the, and organizations need to adhere to these provisions very, very strictly. The penalties are huge. It starts from 1 lakh, 10,000 to 1 lakh to even 8 lakhs in industry dispute and all. So organizations, they definitely need to ensure this is there. One of the highlights which also wanted to share is that you have this night shift in Shop and Association Act, but they were never into Factories Act or Mines Act or Plantation Labor Act and Contract Labor Act. Night shift was not there, but now this code has this night shift thing as well, where the provision for employment of women after 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. is there, where safety is considered. Today, most of the Shop and Association Acts, they have the night shift and you need to do, but you're never there in a manufacturing or factory setup. So now they are recognizing this. So they're bringing consistency between the Factories Act provisions as well as Shop and Association Act. This code also is very important to know that they are providing for carry forward leaves in case of workers who not avail the whole leave for one calendar, you can carry forward. But yes, subject to you cannot carry for more than 30 days and all. So that's very important. But one point which you need to also note, and this is there in Shop and Association Act as well, but carry forward leave, which is not there in factory, that is implemented here. So one point is to be noted is that if the manager, he refuses a leave of any worker, okay, for conditions or excuses unexplained, that much leaves, it can go beyond 30 also. So those leaves can be carried forward beyond 30 also. So managers who cannot explain why they do want to give the leaves to the workers have an upper hand of accumulating leaves beyond the limit which is prescribed in the act. So just wanted to share that information as well. So let's see old provisions. There was no provision for employment of women in hazardous and dangerous operations, as well as the night shift of women was not there, but now it is there. These few terminal like employee and employer establishment were very inconsistent. You imagine 13 acts, every act has different definition of employee, employer, establishment. And it's so confusing. Even it's confusing, I'm so sure Khatkar would agree. Confusing for the authority who comes there to inspect certain records and all, to really see whether which definition, which act actually applies to that particular organization, or the employees or workers or establishing a definition applies to their organization. So now what has happened is everything is under one, and all four codes, your employer definition, your wage definition, your employee and worker definition, all common. It's very, very simplified thing which is here. So thresholds for creche and canteen facilities also updated. From right now is a 30 worker, a female worker, now it is 250. And for creche is a 50 female workers and respectively. So these are the things which is there, which is mentioned. If you see in the Shop and Association Act, workers cannot work more than 6 days a week, They can, the 7th they need to have a compulsory off. in the Factories Act, where even if the person works for the 7th day, he can actually take a leave on the 10th day. That is what is mentioned in the Factories Act. But this again, it is not, the parameter is not so, standardized between Shop and Exchange Factories Act. So this code brings out that particular, standardization across any types of organization which would be having such provisions, which is there. Other aspects, if I remember, I also talked about 18,000 wages as the capping, which is there as far as, OSH code is also there. So that is there. The manufacturing process is redefined. It also includes, your, because if there are 13 acts included, so manufacturing also includes your dimensional 4D printing, prototyping, flexography. The printing version, they include this. If you have clients who are into this printing aspect, especially 4D printing and all, they will be covered under manufacturing setup. And also this is now being part of the Act now. So, and very important to note that the principal employer, the definition of principal employer also includes manager of a mine. Earlier, the mine workers, there was no definition of principal employer there. So it was a manager which is there. So now in the principal employer, they introduced mine workers. So if all the CAs, if you have any mine clients, to ensure that the definition of principal employer also includes mine as well. So there are things which I wanted to tell. One important point which you also need to know is, because the simplification of this particular OSH code, one common license would have been taken. So the code provides for common license for factory, industry premise for BD, cigar work, and engaging contract workers for any form of single license. So we have one common license for almost whatever type of organization you have, and if all the 13 acts are applicable to you, so one common license for this would be there. So that's what I just wanted to. Any questions on this OSH code? Anyone has?
अयाज जी एक बार चेक करिए कोई क्वेश्चंस है तो फिर आगे बढ़ेंगे.
And I just wanted to also ask, the speakers are there and the participants are there. I hope my flow of explaining is simple enough, because I know that it's a very dry subject, but simple enough to make you guys understand what the crux of the code is. So I hope.
Excellent, sir. This is excellent.
I am not so fast in that. So okay, fine. So thank you very much too for that confirmation, because when we go with the passion and when we just speak, we don't realize that whether you are understanding or not, or you're listening or not. So fine. Thank you very much for that explanation.
See, I'll tell you, sir. Had it just been to attend the session, then the entire 1,000 people who had registered would come. So I'm sure we, in spite of having more registrations, we have got around 400 plus people participating. So there's a reason that these people are here to listen, understand, and a fewer question means that you're able to make them understand. That is what I feel.
So that's what I want to say. I want to do justice to the people who are attending, because I hope I'm trying to meet their expectation in terms of their understanding of what the hell all this labor laws are about. So that's very important for me to get the acknowledgement.
Contrary to this, even if there are more questions, it doesn't mean that the audience is not able to understand. They are more enthusiastic about getting into the roots of the the topic that you're taking. So either ways,
thank you.
More questions is also appreciable, and no questions is also appreciable. They both have their own limitations and pros and cons. So, sir, you can go ahead, sir, please.
Sure. Thank you very much for that acknowledgement, because it did justice to the people who are attending. That's very important. So thanks for the feedback. So so I was just talking about contract labor and okay. So one thing which also this code, I don't know how much practical it would be, but what they are trying to do is also have a helpline, toll-free helpline for the interested migrant worker. Now this is the aftermath of migrant workers issue which happened during COVID time, if you remember, in April, May, June, July of 2020, and when this code was introduced in September 29, they also put a provision of having a toll-free helpline for any interested migrant worker. So this I don't know how much effective it would be, but fairly largely we presume that government would be really taking care of that very well. Let me just tell you, while I've not mentioned the penalties, but very important for everyone to know about the penalties. So I would just narrate the penalties. It's good to make a note as well. So there are general penalties. So if you see, I was talking about OSH code first. Sorry, I was talking industrialization code first, and industrial dispute and all. And then I'm talking about OSH code. Now, general penalty and general first offense for the IR code, which I just explained, it is 10 lakhs for the first instance. And then the subsequent offense which you have, there is imprisonment of 6 months and fine up to 20 lakhs. So this is very, very critical for us to know. There is a provision, the second subsequent offense is done, there is a provision of imprisonment of 6 months. And if there are workers who are there who do illegal strike, right? I told you that even if 50% of workers do mass bunking, it's also called a strike. So for them also illegal strike is that imprisonment for up to 1 month or fine of 10,000, or it can be both. Same goes with the illegal lockout as well. If there is illegal lockout, then the fine for the organization is 1 month imprisonment or 1 lakh or both. So that's very important for you guys to know that the penalty is very, very important. Now, if you talk about OSH code, which has all the 13 acts together, the first offense of the, for the first offense, the penalty is 3 lakhs, and continuing offense, it will be 2,000 per day till such contravention or the non-compliance exists. So even if falsification of records are there, organizations are very creative. Jugaad, we call all organizations very Jugaad, creative guys, and they try to falsify records. But if it's really come to know, then 3 months of fine is there. So I would suggest that, you need to also learn about labor laws and all, but ensure that you guide your organization to have a right partner for compliance so that these things are really not done. In fact, just to tell you and share, while we're talking about wage code also, so as an organization, we also have helped so many organizations to really structure out the wage code. Santosh Sinha has also given a very good thing on wage code, but structure out how the wage code should happen. So as a CA, you also should take it up as a thing that how do you ensure that the wage code, the structure of the wages which is there, not only the aspect of the income tax, tax calculation, tax saving aspect, but also on the social contribution, or are they compliant of all the breakups, are they compliant or not? You should also get into that wage code. Happy to, be contacted for anything on this particular aspect as well. Happy to share knowledge also. It's very important for all the CAs to know that it's just not the tax saving aspect which you need to address to your clients or employers, but also about the structuring of the wage. Because again, the penalties, same thing, the wage code, the penalties again, first offense is 1 lakh rupees, and then are up to 3 years imprisonment. Imprisonment clause always there. So tomorrow it should not happen that the organization, they get the notice and they say, how did the CEO also sign off? So very critical for you guys to understand and know. All right, so I will just try to continue this. So let me talk about Social Security Code now. So now in this code, what it tells about Social Security is all about you have
just for information, we have got now more than 500 plus viewers. Last half an hour back, it was some 400. Now it is 500 plus. So we still have a lot of people coming in and, getting through what you're explaining. Sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Oh. So which means they come to hear my conduct for 5 to 6. I would presume that if people have increased to just hear me, that's very nice. Thank you very much on that. Okay, so let me just continue in the Social Security. And so what do you mean by Social Security is nothing but I think Khatkar also he spoke about the how the ILO over the years have been very, very instrumental across the world to give a basic information, basic things which are there for any worker who should not be exploited. There's so much exploitation. I was very enthralled with his presentation about how people were killed and all, and Milwaukee, and there's a very good thing he spoke about it. So all boils down to all this, benefits for the employee. So what are the benefits? That very, very much, about PF, fantastic PF, it is handled by EPFO, Employees Provident Fund Organization, so autonomous body. Same as ESIC also, which is Employee State Insurance Corporation, which regulates Employee State Insurance Act. Then others are Maternity Benefit Act, Building and the Construction Workers Cess Act, and then you have Payment of Gratuity Act that you need to pay after 4 years and 240 days. Employment Exchange Act. So everything is a social security and taking care of that particular employee is his. For example, Employment Exchange Act talks about whether all the workers who are registered there, their employment should be done. So it will be very compulsory for organization also to have currently it's compulsory, but it's not implemented so much. But with the new labor code, social security code, the compulsory for organizations to register. It's something like Naukri.com. You have register the government portal and scan through the resumes which are posted by a lot of people on that. Very much similar there in US also, Canada also, Singapore also. So where you can actually recruit people from there. So government is working on their website also. If I have information, I will share that with you. It's already there. I don't recollect the URL where you can actually search through the candidates and all. So there are the some of the existing legislation which is now be subsumed and the college Social Security 2020. So it aims, as I told you, implementing labor laws. Again, you must be knowing the famous Bridge and Roof case, which came in 1961, I guess, and then it came, the latest being, on the 20th February 2019, which was a Vivekanand case, the Supreme Court case, defining the PF wages. So then ESI wages is different, gratuity is different. Some wages they say only gross wages, some say only basic wages. So Social Security Code just aims to have just rubbish it out and have a common wage code. In fact, as I told, under reiterating again, the wage definition remains common across all the codes, right? So that's very important. And also, I just mentioned earlier, they slowly are also ensuring that they are PF and ESI is on almost similar plane. So very soon, if the code is implemented, your threshold limit of 15,000, which is for PF right now, may go up to 21,000. Yeah, so that is very important. Is there? The coverage remains the same. They do not want to push the coverage one. The coverage remains the same for the PF is 20 employees and more, and ESIC is 10 and more. So the coverage remains the same. They have not changed those coverage at all. Very important, which as I told earlier also in my presentation, where the now they want to add more and more unorganized sector. So the code is also introducing, the concept of the aggregator, your digital management service. Like for example, Ola, Uber, car drivers, Swiggy, Zomato, all those you can call platform worker. Platform worker doesn't mean the railway platform. Platform in the software platform workers who are there, or gig workers who are there. They are going to be covered under this act. So that's very important that their provision. That today there's no provision as such. So I'm saying today, even if you're Swiggy, Zomato, drivers or bike riders are there, they work for 8 hours, 10 hours, 4 hours, 15 hours, and if they're non-compliant, there is a law actually, regulating them. So that's the reality which is there. So this code, seems to cover all those aspects which is there. The key highlights, let's discuss on this as well. I was talking about which kind of people who are left out and now they're there. So gig workers are told. So now, there is a chapter 9, which is there under the social code, which covers all this kind of, these workers, whether it is gig workers or whether it is platform workers and all. It covers all such type of workers as far as the chapter 9 is concerned. So what they have done is that current all the organizations which are there, they have already covered under PF, PS and all. They do not want to now remix and all. They kept a separate provisions for all those such kind of employees and companies separately in the Chapter 9, which they have put. So that's what the law is about. Very important also to note is that the exclusion of, the apprentices are excluded from the provisions of the Social Security Code. In fact, apprentices as a worker, if you covered under Apprenticeship Act, okay, and or you are under NSDC, under National, you're covered under the entire Skill Sector Council of NSDC or MSD, that is Ministry of Skill Development and Environment. Those apprentices would not be coverable under any labor law. So there is a very beautiful scheme you should be doing as NAPS, that is National Apprentice Promotion Scheme. So if the workers are covered under NAPS, none of the labor laws, none of the IR laws or Social Security laws or codes will be applicable to them. So that's very important for everyone to know like this. So PF remain, okay. One more thing which the code has also introduced Career Center, which I just spoke about it as a website where the job vacancies would be posted, the career would be there, and there will be vocational guidance also. So government wants to really do a lot of things, and they really implemented this Career Center and vocational guidance also for the job seekers who are there. And if the employers who are registered on the job portal and they have mentioned that I want this particular part of this particular type of the employee, you'll be able to get those income. There's already under Employment Action Act, if you go to see, there's already a provision. In fact, any trainee or apprentice, if you want to do, you can actually search it, and loads of trainees are available on that particular portal of apprenticeship.gov.in, and you can actually induct it under apprentice scheme. So similarly, this Career Center scheme is also there by the government to help the organization to search the right candidate so that it reduces the issue about unemployability. So let's see the old provision, new provision. So old provision, yes, I've told aggregator, Career Center, home-based work. And a very important to notice, because of this pandemic, a lot of hybrid working is also there. People are working from home today. Also, we all are at home as good as working today. But home-based worker, or you can say work from home, is all covered under this particular Social Security Code. Unorganized worker, I told you. Does anyone know what is the percentage of organized and unorganized workers? So we all work for organized sector, right? Being a CA and being a professional, expert and all. The ratio between unorganized and organized is just 9 to 10% of the overall total 45 crore workforce in India. So all the labor laws are only for the organized sector. The rest 90%, which is there, are unorganized. Largely are agriculture, and there are so many others, which are there. So this act starts to even cover such unorganized worker also under Chapter 9. So no provision for schemes or organized worker, now it is going to be there. So what it gives you recognition is not only recognition, but they have the complete one considered like a insurance scheme for all that, which covers life, disability, accident insurance, health and maternity benefit, old age protection, crash, everything. That's still to be determined by the government. How will they do it? But they'll have one insurance and they'll be covered under that. So that particular employee or gig worker which is there, he will have his own registration number having all the entire insurance. And that will move from company to company. So the company may have to contribute his share or something like that, but that's how it's going to be. So just want to share this information. ESIC benefit are also to be unorganized workers as well. To the gig workers, platform workers, it is gone to that also about expanding the limit of ESIC as well to those type of workers as well, irrespective of the salary. I think I have done enough on as far as your all the codes are concerned. Industrialization Code, Occupational Safety and Health, as well as PF Code and the Social Security Code. Any questions you have, or you want me to cover even the, so I would reserve this 15 minutes for the Q&A session, or you want me to go through the wage code because it was already shared by Santosh Sinha. So over to you. What should I do? Should I continue, or I think we just pause for the questions here?
I have a small question, and in fact, this question is to all the three speakers over here. Sinha Saab, are you there? Ashwini Kumar Saab.
Yes, yes, yes.
So the thing is, what I have observed. See, basically, my observation is based on the news that I'm reading, and I've seen that the capitalists, the corporates, the industries are able to influence the proceedings, and that again I would tell the sources, again the news. So how do you think that it's a way to protect the interests of the the employees? So if you would put some highlight on that, and before you come up with the answer the presentation on that, I have a small introduction for our guest, our Vice President Saab, Shri Hansraj Chugh is here. Sir, namaste.
Oh, sir, Dr. Saab, Vice President bolo, mat bolo, Vice Chairman bolo.
Sorry, Vice Chairman Saab. I'm
Guruji,
extremely sorry. I recall my words. I recall my words. I recall my words.
मतलब हो सकता है आपके जबान पे इस समय सरस्वती माता हो और कोई भगवान हो, वो सच हो जाए आने वाले समय में.
Touch wood, it is answered. Touch wood, it is answered. Touch wood, it is answered.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. Thank you very much.
So, a small brief about sir, and then we can go ahead with answering the question that I've put forth across, and there's one more question in the chat box after that. So, sir is basically a fellow chartered accountant, fellow company secretary, and a law graduate and insolvency professional. So, sir, basically we have the fraternity from the law graduates over here who are going to who in fact I have addressed this session. We also have the former judiciary over here. We have got Mr. Sashikant Savle Saab also, who spoke to us for a few minutes and gave his insight on this. Hansraj Chugh Saab is currently the Central Council member of ICAI for the Council Team 22-25 and nominated as the Chairman of the Committee for Members in Entrepreneurship and Public Services and Committee on Career Counseling for the year 22-23. He is also a Vice Chairman of the Committee of Economic Commercial Laws and Economic Advisory, the committee that he is right now on, for the year 22-23. He is a regular speaker on GST, Foreign Trade Policy, Custom Laws, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Codes, banking and other economic issues of the nation on various platforms of professional institutions, education institutions, PSUs, trade bodies, and promotional councils. Sir, if you could just say a few words, and then we can have the question answer sessions, and then we can move towards the end.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Salim. You see, like today is a day which is not only in India, across the globe, is been talk about the Labor Day, or the day which is meant for a particular class of the people, those who have really been producing for the world, or creating a methodology by which we can effectively and efficiently can serve to the whole of the system of the humanity. That is a recognition by this very day. And I really appreciate our chairman, CA Dr. Rajkumar Adhukia ji, thought of bringing out a special attention to this particular day by bringing out this program for the fraternity as such, and understanding of the labor laws, because with the change time, if we talk about the changing time, we have thought of long back what reformation in all the ecosystem of the country requires. It's not the taxation side only or the accounting side only. It's a labor reforms, reforms in the system where those who produce or those who take care of the system of producing, whether through the technology system, the mechanical system to support the mechanics, or in the by hand, even by their own hard work even. So that system, unless until creates good in the whole scenario, whole chain, whole system of the whole chain. So till then, the effectiveness or efficiency cannot be improved upon. A person who is not satisfied or a person who is not being taken care of in the whole system by the law itself, so then it cannot be taken care of by the businessman. Business basically works through under parameters of the law itself. So we all have to understand that now the new law, whatsoever is coming or whatsoever is there in our system as a code, single system, whatsoever is to be created with, that is the, I personally believe so, that will be a reformation that will transform into the working system. I really appreciate this our gentlemen, the speakers, Ashwini Kumar ji and Sinha Saab and others, whosoever is there, or they will be bringing out justice, but they will be getting our strength of the our participants, giving them the best of the knowledge, so that their intellectual power is been really been taken to the next level, and ultimately it is been bringing out to the better understanding of the law. As such, I know the speakers there, Pratik ji also, Sinha Saab also, Ashwini ji also. So this theory of reformation or the transformation in the labor laws, law which relates with the ecosystem of the country, where we can produce effectively and efficiently by reformation, so that way we can create the history of producing for the globe in India itself. As such, India is a country which is full of the hard worker, a country where people have a zeal to work even longer hours, not limiting to the 8 hours. People have a zeal to work even for the 12, 14 hours even. So unless until they are being taken care of, unless until they are being paid for, so then effectiveness cannot be brought in. So having been understood, so the new law or the new system, and this is the very best day for the system, and our Dr. Adukia has taken care of this particular day, and I really appreciate, and I appreciate the team of Dr. Salim ji and the other CP committee team and the other members from the whether it is technology, the sport we are getting from, and the other team members. I really appreciate the efforts made by them to this on Sunday evening at 3 to 6 p.m. This particular program is being brought into. I wish our participants will be best benefited out of this program. Dr. Salim, over to you back, and I really appreciate the efforts made by you. Thank you.
You're on mute, sir.
There's a question in the chat box, Pratik Saab. After attending that question, you could just, in fact, I would suggest all the three speakers to talk and give the overview on the question that I put forth regarding valuation and the influence of the corporates or the industry, or the mechanism or the machinery, and how the things are having an effect on the employee for the same. So, Pratik Saab, first, if you would go through the question by Mr. Shivam Gupta.
Yeah, so the question from Shivam is that this new codes are like merger of existing law into GST or something else. No, the GST is a taxation act and should not mix that with that. Everything will not come to GST as such. But yes, these four codes are, subset or, what you can consolidation of 29 labor acts, which are there in National and Central Act. And this is where they start. I'll tell you it is the start because there are so many hundred other state level acts which also will be getting subsumed very, very soon, the next over 4-5 years. So so in the end, in fact, if you study, and I don't know how much you study other countries' labor codes, so out of 4 I have to study because there are some clients in international. So if you see Singapore, if you see even Bangladesh per se, and even Thailand, so they also have labor codes, so they have simplified it much more better. Philippines is much more simplified. It is called Department of labor and employment, the simplified code. So the objective in India is also to just have a simplified labor codes. So it is better to understand. But if you do not follow, then it's a huge penalty and damages which will be imposed. So it's going to be strict. It is simplified. It's going to be strict in implementation. So that is where I just want to end here.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. So I'll just repeat the question once again. I have read in newspapers, the source that of my question is that, there's an influence from the industries, from the capitalists, from corporates, which dilutes the, labor laws. And various instances, I've also read the editorials on that. Do you think there's a way or mechanism wherein, more benefit should be given to the employee? Because when I read these articles, I'm of the opinion that, they are being targeted or they are not being heard. So if, as an advocate, if you all can give some, insight on this, and then we can conclude with the session.
I would like to just address it. First and foremost, do not go and do not read, articles and things which are quoted in the, newspapers and all. I would love to be actually a contributor, and I'm so sure Adukaji or even our very a good friend Khatkar would like to give an article, because article only Sansani case. Yesterday, day before yesterday, the article was that now the labor codes will be implemented. We will have a 4-day working, 3-day holiday, and 12-hour working. None of the provision the labor code has such. And then the organization, they get into the TZ and say, Acha, abhi aisa ho jayega, and then there are so many questions come to us. So we be very clear on that if you're not heard from experts, if you're not heard from us, do not believe in those articles. So I would urge, that, we should stop reading such articles and our WhatsApp university messages and all. And we should start actually seeing, I think, labor codes, rightly told by Adukaji as well. Go to the site, labor.gov.in. You see there are very simplified codes also written, and people need to understand, read them. In fact, we are also, in fact, creating some kind of FAQs and many codes and all. Happy to share that with all our CA members and all in a due course of time. And I would suggest that we should do more and more seminars so that all the CAs are not really enlightened to really do something on labor laws, but at the same time, you have so many of their own organization, of their clients, which may be having, they are also given the right advice. So that's very important. So again, do not go to articles and all.
So
Okay,
Dr. Salim,
that's
it's very true. Yeah, rightly said by Prateek ji. You see, there are two kinds of thinkers. One is articles which read by a layman or common people, or by the employee, and who start to think about their benefits. And there is another part of thinkers like us who thinks whether if someone is saying 4 days working, whether this 4 days working will be possible or not. And if this 4 days working will be there, whether the industry or the establishment will be in position to complete their task on time or not. So by keeping in view to all aspects and everything, like Prateek, me, or whoever in this industry, they always think before giving any predictions or before giving any advice to the clients. Am I right, Prateek ji? So that is the difference. And whenever the layman or any employee who came to know about any such kind of articles like WhatsApp universities and all those things, then they should immediately contact to the whoever practitioner are there, or whoever is in the field of labor law. I will never say that expertise, because it's true that no one can 100% expertise ever. Even we also keep our knowledge refreshed every day, every week, by keeping in touch with the people like you, Aduke ji, Prateek ji, and everyone. So that is the difference. And people should always be alert before having or giving any final thought to any of the articles. That is my
There's a question from V. Subramani Iyer. If you could read it in the chat box.
Yeah.
And then I think we should be able to conclude after this. Anyone who could answer this or take it for.
Khatkar ji, would you like to answer this question? So I would just would read out this question, sir. Can you highlight what are the areas in labor code where CA can contribute proper implementation of the code by proper reporting to board or shareholders about no compliance which can impinge on ESG concerns? So I would also would like to answer this, but after Khatkar ji, because we not got, he's not got the opportunity to speak. But I would request him to speak, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Pratik. I feel that there's a scope for CAs for wherever there's a financial implications, just like wage code particularly, because wage code they have changed the definition of wages. They have clubbed together the some portion of the allowances which are more than 50% in the basic rate of wages. And they got the cascading effect also. Means not only that wages, after the wages the gratuity, then gratuity and bonus. So all these acts are interrelated. So you have to not only study that particular section or particular definition, you have to correlate that definition with other acts also. So that is very important. In that perspective, CA can definitely guide the management that this will be a cost to the company if you rearrange the wages and you want to comply it. Secondly, the bonus component also, I just in the beginning there was a question on bonus, that whether loss-making company or company which are having continuous losses for over the period of time, still they have to pay minimum bonus. You see that if your case is genuine, then definitely there's a provision for exemption under Payment Amounts Act. But new wage code may be having similar provisions, but you have to go through it and highlight it. And again, bonus, there is a provision for surplus, how to calculate surplus. There are some, always, I have last 30 years, I'm in Commission of Labor Department. I have not seen so many experts who can arrive at the particular allocable surplus, available surplus, and they advise the management to pay this much percent of bonus. Again, there's a provision for, it's constantly labor law dynamic laws. Okay, so which provision of the act will attract the income tax, which provision of the act will not attract income tax. So that again also you have to advise to the management. So definitely under new labor code, CA has to play very vital role, and you just don't go through a single definition. Apart from the definition, other acts are there which are going to be affected, and for that also the employer has to take a provision in the budget. So definitely, if you can highlight the provisions and you can make a presentation or submit the report to your management, clearly stating that these are the areas where this new code will impact, and at present how much will be the financial burden. Now after the implementation of the code, what will be the financial implications, and how you within the framework of the labor code, how you can get relief. That is a major challenge before now your CA fraternity now, if the code is being implemented.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely true. And if you want to add here, every word which Khatkar ji has told is right. And just to add here, when you talk about GRC, Governance, Risk, Compliance, or Environmental and Social and Corporate Governance, ESG, apart from the wage code, you have the OSH code and the Social Security code, which which comprises the complete ESG part. Apart from you have the corporate laws and all. So the implementation in the Social Security code as well, like for example, coverage under PF, PS, and all those, in the contract labor, compliance around that. Those are very, very vital to understand, because I just told you about, say, in IR code, I also told you about the penalties. It starts with 8 lakhs in IR code itself. In Social Security code and all, it starts with 1 lakh to 3 lakhs. So this is a financial exposure which is there if non-compliance is found in any of the provision on the labor codes. It's a big ticket item. As a CA, as a financial controller, as a CFO, one has to understand the implication of that and needs to highlight to the board that this is very, very critical for labor laws to be really done. Because I'll tell you, currently also, if you go to see, and I've seen that whether the 4 and big 8 which is there, the penalty which is there, is hardly 500 to 1,000 rupees as the labor laws is concerned. And so many times people have gone and just paid the penalty for non-compliance and then they report it. So, but now the exposure is much more 100 times than that. So one is the financial penalty, and I also told you about the repeated offense is a completely imprisonment. So this is very critical for you to put it to the board, to the shareholders that this is non-negotiable compliance or non-compliance. That's what I just want to share here.
Thank you so much, all of you all. Yeah. So, thank you all of you all on behalf of the Committee on Economic Commercial Laws and Economic Advisory, Chairman Sir, CA Dr. Rajkumar Adukia, Vice Chairman Sir, CA Hansraj Chok, the entire officers, the team over here. We thank all the speakers, Pratik Saab, Ashwini Kumar Saab, Sinha Saab. I also thank the Vice Chairman Sir to come there and conclude the session. And we really had a lot of insight and enlightenment from you all. And let's see how this is going to help us out in, to the chartereds, to the people from the fraternity to practice in, non-traditional areas. And I want you all to write and connect to us also so that we can be in touch. We can have more such seminars. Your inputs as speakers, as mentors can help develop this thing. You can also be a part of the committee for economic advisories, wherein you can give a lot of inputs as suggested by our chairman, Sir, CA Dr. Rajkumar Adukia. So we concluded this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Rajkumar Adukia, sir. Thank you. Thanks, Pratik. Thanks, Ashwini, sir. Thank you.
Thank you also. Thank you.